And we back. We back. We're back. We're back. We're back and we're melanated. Glad to be with you. My name is Brother Legend. Welcome to the live. We got some prompts up above me. Some things to talk about. This is a TikTok live. To all those who are watching on YouTube, you can check us out on TikTok, Bigbrolgnd. Hit the notification bell on my profile to be notified when we go on live. To everybody that's here, what up, what up? If you like sweet potato pie and macaroni and cheese that sticks together, tap like, tap like. If you know you like your yams with a lot of sugar, tap like. If you like your yams round and brown, tap like. And if you know what I meant the second time, I really need you to tap like. If you know exactly what kind of yams I'm talking about, then I definitely need you to tap like. Yes, sir. And and everybody else, if you're lipless, you know what I'm saying? Some of the thin-lipped people, you're welcome to be in this space. Just don't be a disruption. Feel free to also um gain some knowledge. Oh, don't let it. Oh, wait, we had 2K. Okay, never mind. Thank you, Leisha. Shout out to my moderator, Leisha.
I was tapping, power tapping.
Oh, okay. So, we back up with a new prompt and kind of talking about what we were talking about earlier. It felt like the conversation was going in this direction, talking about biracial as a category of race. It is not that a category of race. It is. Someone says it's glitching. Yeah, it might. There really might be an issue. I don't know. I don't know what's making it do that. Maybe it's my new charger. I'm gonna take it off. I got this little magnetic charger thing because my phone keep dying on my lives. Um, but yeah, biracial isn't its own race. Y'all see it tripping? Oh, TikTok tripping. Okay, biracial is not its own race. It is a description. It's a description mostly of who your parents are, not a race within itself. Phenotype is not the only factor in determining someone's racial identity. And in the black community, biracial black and white people are considered black or treated as black until they show anti-blackness. Until we see something that awakens our ancestors, we're gonna welcome you and treat you as one of us. But we do also have to keep in mind the context in which our biracial non-brothers and sisters, but biracial people that would be on plantations going back in our history in America have been some of the greatest betrayers of our people. So that's what some of the epigenetics, why some black people get triggered when they see anti-blackness in our own people. But some of I would say the number one betrayer of our people have been monoracial black people, to be honest, that we've accepted into
Oh,
our communities as well. The Uncle Ruckuses and the Sambos. So that's the thing as well.
I don't think we talk about that quite enough, frankly.
I'll be trying. I'll be trying. But
God,
absolutely, you're right.
I don't think we
Um,
talk about it quite enough, but you
mhm.
absolutely right.
Yeah. I mean, it don't matter what the race of your parents are. Anybody can be a Sambo. So and
Yeah.
that's one of the things. I've highlighted it in some of the discussions. Especially when people say just what I just said. That well, we can't trust them because this, that, the third. And I'd be like, if you're gonna go off looks, if you're gonna go off their parents, who their parents are. Shoot, you can't trust some of us. But
Big facts.
you know what I'm saying? So
Big facts. And
yeah.
you know what? It's wild because when you said the thing about, the biracial people being accepted into the black community unless they show, until they start showing anti-blackness, kind of tendencies or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that is a good point. Because I swear I've heard that so much, and I don't think I have very many instances that I could latch on to
Mm,
where I didn't feel accepted by black people.
mm,
Like, unless we're talking about like maybe being bullied in school, like
right.
picked on about my hair or, like
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But not functioning in society day to day. Um, my experience, like I went to a black college. There was like, it was never, being a biracial black person has never been an issue for me. I've never gone into black spaces and felt unwelcomed, felt like I don't belong or people don't like me because I happen to be a biracial black person. So
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that out of other people. I've heard them express that a lot. But like I said, the only time I could ever latch on to relate to that is early childhood, like bullying type things.
Mm-hmm.
But kids bully other kids. Um,
And it's part of our culture, going
and
back
that's part
thousands of
exactly.
years.
And
Yeah.
frankly, it's part of being black. They find
Right.
something about your ass
Oh yeah,
to
absolutely.
you
And
gonna get bullied.
that's part of the reason why we did it in Africa. It's called playing the dozens. And what they would do is, in order to get you to stand firm in your identity, they'll pick on your weak spot. And a lot of the times, the name of the game was to be as offensive as possible, right? So we've roasted each other. We get on each other all the time, but it's funny because we talk about how the family structures were in Africa, and the matriarch was the head of the house a lot of the time, and that's where we get yo mama jokes. It goes back thousands of years in African history, where when you want to hurt someone's feelings, you attack the most powerful person in their house, and that would be the mother. Big mama. We have that even in America today. Like that's part of our culture. So, you know, if
Well,
they
it
saw that you might waver in your blackness, black kids will poke at that, make fun of that. And what a biracial person's job is, a biracial child or whoever that they're being bullied for this, their job is to be black no matter what. And so then it would reinforce that if you play the game right. You see what I'm saying? Where now, you know, whatever, man, like I'm still black. Like, and what? Like I'm standing in this. Like, and when you stand in it, that's gonna eventually let everyone else know that you see what I'm saying? They gotta stop bothering you.
That's not a soft spot. They can't.
Right.
Yeah, they
and
But
you
but
can't.
a
know,
lot of us don't know that that's the culture because our mother was a thin Lipian that didn't teach us the culture. So now they don't know that's the culture. So now when the black people making fun of them based on that, they're like,
well,
they don't accept me. And
and also
yeah.
they're being taught, and I
Mm,
I remember this clearly. My mom never did, but my dad would say, actually no, my mom did say it. Oh, they don't like you because they're jealous of you. And that is so
That's so problematic.
reinforced. Yes, yes, and it starts young. It starts really really young,
mm,
and so they keeps going on. Oh, they don't like me because I look this way, or I'm this way, or I talk this way, which contributes to the featureism and colorism, and
right.
makes them feel like they're better, they're elevated, because they were told by the white people, oh, you're better because you're only half black,
Mm.
you have
Mm,
white
mm,
in you. And so they come in, then they go into these spaces talking fucking sorry, talking
uh huh.
crazy and coonery, and go crying, they rejected me, they said, all these things, not
Mm-hmm.
realizing what you said was harmful, was abuse, was the same thing your mama would do when she went to dinner on Sundays, and that's why you weren't allowed to go there on Sundays anymore, because your white mama was talking crazy. And
Right.
they ignore that and say, oh yeah, well, they're just jealous. No, it's the other way around.
Right.
It's
They
the
don't
other.
recognize that they were rejected, not because they're a biracial black person, but because they behave like a colonizer. They
Right.
behave.
Exactly.
It wasn't the outside; it was the inside.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
And
their
so that's what they'll call
behavior.
you white. They'll say you white. You're acting white. That's what they're saying. They're not saying, it's your mother, this and that, the third. I mean, there's also other ways to say that you're acting white, which are problematic that Dr. Juan said, Kunjufu. Like if when you're showing your intelligence and someone says you're acting white, that is something completely different. But when they say that you're white, and people have come up here and said, black people call me white people call me black, I don't know what to do. It's like, well, black people were calling you white because they're saying on the inside, you have not shown us that you're part of the culture, like you haven't internalized the culture enough. There's so many cultural norms that can let us know that it operates differently in the black community. Even black mothers, I've spoken about it before, where they'll put down their child to compliment them. Like that's something that goes back to slavery. Master come up and says that your son's growing tall, ain't he? And the mother would say, no, he ain't nothing but a headache. Oh man, he's so he don't listen to nothing I say. And so now today, someone will come up and say, little Johnny's doing good in school, and he's really bright student. Oh, he ain't nothing but trouble. He just get in the way, and try feeding him. That's it, you see, it's a cultural thing that we pass down. So there's so many things that if from the outside looking in, you can see it and think it's negative, but it's
Historically, that was a form of protection, though. That was
right.
a way of trying to make oneself humble in the eyes of somebody who could harm your child.
Yeah.
Because they think that your child is getting too big for their britches, so to speak. So that's how black women especially made sure that they kept their children humble and kept the perception of humbleness in the eyes of people who would seek to harm their family. So
right. Yeah.
But a lot of people don't understand that history. So it and even some of our own people don't understand that
Don't
history.
understand it, right?
So they don't understand where that comes from and how that was handed down. And people forget how many years has transpired. It's not that far in the rear view mirror. My great grandmother was, and I know this woman. I spent summers at her house. She was she was born in 1905. She grew up in a sharecropping family. Okay, this is not that.
That was
far
my grandfather. So your great grandmother, my grandfather. My father was my grandfather was old when he had my father. So my grandfather was
and
born
all
in
mine had their
1902.
kids young. So my
Yeah.
Same with my grandparents. My papa was a sharecropper, and
Yeah.
my grandmother had her first child when she was 13 years old, and had I believe 7 by the time she was 21.
Woo.
Lee.
They ain't have TV. They ain't have TikTok back then.
On Halloween, there will be
Oh man, here goes weirdo, man. What the hell, man? It's Sunday.
They boring. They don't even have nothing better to do. It's weird. The way they troll is weird as hell. Like
Yeah.
if I was gonna troll, I would be a creative troll because I be talking shit creatively. So I know I could be a way better troll. I feel like if somebody should probably pay me to troll, and I should do that full time.
That's
These trolls
weird.
is boring as hell.
For real.
I know one problem. I've noticed one problem a lot of these biracials have is, they grew up in white communities and they quote unquote talk white, and they get so offended. You talk white. Well, I get that. And I'm going to tell you, when I was younger, it was a little bit offensive. My feelings were hurt, but I don't care anymore because my community actually doesn't care either. It's jokes. It's, you sound like a white girl, but at the same time, and this is before consciousness of the N word as a term of affection became part of my uh, awareness, so I don't use the N word anymore. But it was used as a way, in how it was used towards me was I felt accepted, when they called me that. It was, I guess, toxic positivity. I don't know what you want to call it, but I felt part of a community. So when they called me, said, "Oh, white girl," whatever, when they're talking about the way I talked, I didn't care anymore because I knew that's how my community was. Now, when they cussed me out and kicked me out the house, I was being white. Does that make sense?
Called white girl before? Because I ain't never been called white.
No,
I've been called white.
I was called white girl when
I
the
don't
way
think
I
I've ever been
talk.
called.
So like when I lived in the South in Arkansas
I
and
live in
lived
the South.
I lived in Little Rock for 4 years. Now I lived all the rest of my years in on the other side, but this was my time I lived there, and they would joke with me about the way I talked. They would joke with me, and at first it bothered me, but then when I realized they accepted me, they loved me, I didn't care
You know
about when
what?
they.
You know what? I'm lying. I'm lying. Crazy. When I first moved to the South as a child, I moved back and forth multiple times. When I first moved to the South from the West Coast, from California, as a child, I spoke very properly.
Right.
And that was just, it was just what it was. I lived in California. My mother was very, don't say ain't and y'all and whatever. That wasn't, whatever in my household. And I mean, obviously that subsided, but I digress. So when I first moved, I did have that. I did have people making fun of me for the way that I spoke and saying that I spoke like, a white, but I had to go back in my memories to tap into that because I really didn't recall.
Because you moved
But I was
on,
like,
yeah.
has anybody ever done that? No, you're right though. That did happen to me when I was a kid. And I think that's how I learned code switching, though. It was subconscious. But me going back and forth to the West Coast, to the South, moving multiple times between the two. And like, I think that's how I learned that without really even realizing that that was a thing. Because I was a whole kid. I didn't know, what I was doing. But I learned to adapt to whatever environment that I was in based on having had those experiences. So it's funny that you said that.
Well,
I
I went as far as recording because I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I was exposed to NWA in my junior high school, and I heard it and I fell in love, and I was like, yes, this is my music, this is my thing. Now, what I did was I recorded Ice Cube's on a cassette tape. Okay, yes, I'm that old. Cassette tape, and I would play his music, his cuss word music, because I couldn't afford to buy the cassette tape. I had to record it from my friend's tape. So I would record it and I would replay it trying to say certain cuss words the way black people said it. And I practice and I practice and I practice. And I was laughed at. I was laughed at. And so I gave up. I was like, you know what? You can accept me or not accept me. And they're like, we always accepted you.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, well, I didn't have that experience. I didn't have to play
Listen,
this.
I had issues, Southern Fried. I had issues. I had identity issues. I had a lot of issues because of a certain uh side of me.
I get it. I get it. Oh, hey,
I'll
hey,
tell
look,
y'all right now, my parents, I grew up extremely Christian, and both my parents was preachers, and not in the way that most people's parents are preachers. My parents actually lived what they preached, and 24/7 we were at church, and
Mhm.
I wasn't allowed to listen to music, a lot of things, and I would be around people and not know who Missy Elliott was, or I remember Cisco the Dragon. I thought was a cartoon,
Oh,
and yeah, they used to call me white for that. Then I got older. I started playing music more. I played the guitar. I used to wear Chucks. They started calling me white for that. But never once did I feel like I wasn't black. But it did at first when I was young, especially because I wasn't hip to the music. I felt like I was missing out on something, so it did used to piss me off. But yeah, these things, if I had a non-black parent, could have made me stray, and that's why I try to tell them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's not
They
that.
could have sent you to the saltine side.
Right, you see what I'm saying? Like it could have, and that's the thing. Like, so I'll be trying to tell them your experience is no different. Your experience with black people is no different than any other black person, other than you might have some privilege. For example, Amber Rose, she complains that she don't fit in black
Oh
spaces.
my
Yet
God.
she been all up in our videos, married
For
to all
over a
type of
decade.
rappers. You know what I'm saying? So
Over a decade, been benefiting off black culture, than talking about she's not accepted by black people. Girl, if you don't shut the fuck up.
yeah, so end of the day, it,
Again, that's the confused mixed race person who is
hmm,
choosing to be confused
hmm,
because there's some benefit in that privilege that they want to tap into. So they don't want to have to fully associate with it, while simultaneously they want to benefit from their association with blackness. They
hmm.
love that. They love the benefits they get. They love being accepted by the culture, but somehow, some way, they still want to hang on to that whiteness. It's weird, that whole Amber Rose situation. When I watched that, because I don't watch any of those shows, but I ended up hearing about it, I believe, on
Yeah,
TikTok, and I ended up watching the clips and stuff, and I was like, this heifer got a lot of nerve. She
yeah,
got a lot of audacity.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and she been with black men like, um, I don't understand how she don't feel accepted at all. But you know, that's playing into that ambiguity has gotten her into black spaces. It makes her the preference to be in a music video. It makes her a little bit more exotic looking, and
But now
You
she's
so
know, and when they
been
say
exposed.
when
She a
they say
white woman. She a white
mm.
woman. She's exposed herself as a whole ass white woman.
Yeah, she did.
exactly,
That's
and you
how
know,
we should treat her. We need to treat her as like the whole white woman that she exposed herself to be, because she is
Hmm.
not with us at the end of the day. At the end of the day, she doesn't recognize herself in her own
Yeah.
blackness, and that's why she's not comfortable in black spaces. So you need to
Hmm.
keep your ass over there with the white people. But the funny part about it is the white people wouldn't have you. The white men of the caliber that you would seek don't want nothing to do with
At
you.
all? No. Mm-mm. Hell no. Not with a big ass. What she got on her forehead? Like I think sometimes
Even
even
her
as
body
black people.
structure, even her body,
Yeah.
and I'm not even saying, I'm not
Oh yeah, they don't
knocking,
want that either. Yeah.
I'm not knocking her shape or anything like that. I'm just saying that is not something that's traditionally appealing to the saltine American men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, they are
Mm-mm.
out here looking for, the little stick figures. If you built
Yeah.
like Courtney Cox or Angelina Jolie, they down with the
Yeah.
cause. You know what I
Right.
mean? They
Yeah.
want that's what they rock with historically,
Hmm.
because that's what they women typically look like.
Yeah. I think like my discussions with the men of the Mayflower, they do like up here a lot more than brothers do. Like they like you know
Yeah,
a little they like the knockers. I don't know.
they
I think that's what they call them.
yeah, they like the breasticles.
Yeah. What? What's that? Except um that's another thing. I don't know. That's another cultural difference I guess we could talk about when it comes to black men and their preferences in women. It's still deeply African. The way that we view even as American men, what is sexy to us. Someone said breasticles. I'm dead. Ulu, you're hilarious. But yes.
Sad. What you talking about? You didn't hear me when I said that?
Oh no, I didn't hear you. Y'all are funny, yeah. But that's what they like. That's because a lot of them are babies. They act like babies. So that's the thing. A lot of us act like babies too, which I've thought about hosting a live about since everybody, not too many people coming up. We did get someone new, but I wanted to talk about black masculinity and some of the things. Um, I just I'm thinking about figuring that part out because a lot of black men do act like babies, but I gotta find a way to say that so that it doesn't sound like I'm beating down on black men. But I was just explaining to y'all real quick. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing talks about how there are 5 categories within a family or within a societal structure that we can choose. Right? Is man, woman, boy, girl, and child. Um, who is the man? When someone says the man is coming, who's the man? Who does the man mean? If I say the man is coming, man is on the way, or I'm gonna fight the man, y'all know who the man is? The man is,
Yeah.
you know who the man is, D?
The white man.
All right, that's right. The white tee man is the man. That's who the man is.
Exactly. Okay.
So they
I'm
tell
glad
us
I'm
we
not
ain't
missing nothing because I was
right.
like, when you say the man, I always think of white
The
people.
man is coming. And
Okay.
this goes back to the plantation. The man meant master was on the way. So the man is not black men. All right. So now we got 4 more categories left. We have boys, we have girls, we have women, and then we have children. So out of those categories, black men have to pick. We march up and down the street, say I'm a man. That was Martin Luther King's first protest was the sanitation rights for sanitation workers' rights. They would march up and down the streets with signs that says I am a man. Black men know that boy is a white racist word. If you watch Good Times, you know what I'm talking about. Michael, you know, boy is a white racist word. So we don't want to be called no boy. So that leaves us with 3 categories. Now we have child, woman, and girl. And so we ain't gonna do the woman and girl, a lot of us. So we end up with baby, woman, and girl. So that making baby the only choice. It's interesting how we call our women's ma, how we call our house the crib, certain other things that go back into our culture. Oh yeah, we got the rappers Lil Baby. Birdman's name is Baby. We got Gunna. We got Da Baby. Things like that. These are where we've been forced to be. Where uh, patriarchy has forced black men to go. If you want to know more about what I'm talking about, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing breaks it down. But the end result, and I like to leave it off with a solution, is we have to, as black men, redefine masculinity back to our original ancestors' definition of what men are. If you want to know more about that, I would recommend Dr. Juwanza Kunjufu's Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Back to the topic. Oh, nobody's. I thought somebody was up here, but
No, that was dope. I actually have never thought about the whole like the crib, the baby, I mean, lil this and that prefixes. I actually never really thought about that before.
it's a thing in our culture where we're threatening to be viewed as men. A survey was just done, a study by the APA, the American Psychological Association. They posted it in their journal, and you can download the results to the study. But basically, they interviewed people, and they said that in their surveys that they did towards white people, they found that anti-black racism does not come from disdain, but rather fear that white people are actually afraid. And when asked, they said they feel threats of physical violence mostly towards black men. So that also falls in line with Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's work that says black men are the number 1 threat to white supremacy. So we're who they're truly afraid of. They're afraid of the sisters too, but because they can make more of us, and that's the
I'm.
thing.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
And
I didn't
then
mean to interrupt you.
oh yeah, and then what was I saying? Oh yeah, the study also showed that within our own in group, within within black people, we're also afraid of black men. We also fear black men. the most. Even black men fear black men the most, and that is a source. It means that they said that this rhetoric is so pervasive that it has also caused us to have a bias towards our own selves and how we view our own men and how we view ourselves.
Yeah, I would
So,
believe that any form of anti-blackness that resonates within Wahite people in our society, I would automatically assume there is a level of that within any other demographic,
right.
because the saltine supremacy within our society is what we've been forced to live under. That has what has governed the culture, right? Has driven the kind of overarching expectation of what's acceptable, not acceptable, whatever, in the society that we live in. So I would assume immediately that also resonates within Black people, Asian people, it's like whatever other demographic you want to name, because
Right.
anti-Blackness is simply it permeates all demographics because of white supremacy culture.
And it puts a target on the back of black men.
Yep.
However, and so that is the reason why we can see even in economics, we see that black women are more likely to be employed. Black women, like we see, and that's why also, even though they do when they do get the jobs, there's the wealth gap of the pay gap, but we
Working.
see that, yeah, we see
Yep.
that, and that is why I you're not gonna see me on no gender wars content, all that other stuff,
Nope.
because as black men, our job is to stand by our woman, even though this system of patriarchy deems us the number one threat. We have they're our greatest asset in this war against patriarchy and racism. Which are one and the same, because we don't have a true patriarchy.
Nope.
Otherwise, black men will hold more power in this country. We have a white patriarchy, so
I
that's
wanted
what makes
to
us a threat.
I
Go
wanted to
ahead.
tell you, I was reading a book called Dying of Whiteness. It's by Jonathan Metzl, and he's a
I heard
white
of that.
guy. He's
Yeah.
a professor of sociology and psychiatry at Vanderbilt. So I recommend this for white people, and the reason why is because he does a study. Okay, he does a study. He's a scholar, with Missouri, Kansas, and I believe Ohio, and rural areas, all white towns, and he was really trying to um, find, do a study about mental health in white men over the age of, I believe, 45 years old, because of the high rates of unaliving themselves. See, we don't hear these numbers, nor do they want you to hear these numbers, because what this guy did was basically say they have all these weapons in these all white towns, but it's because of a deep rooted fear he doesn't necessarily come out and say white supremacy, but that's really what he was saying, of this institution of fear, of being controlled, of being not dominant, of being, not on top. And I recommend,
It's close.
I
It's
rec,
close.
yeah, I recommend.
This is a white man that wrote this?
It's a white man. It's called Dying of Whiteness: How the Politics of Racial Resentment is Killing, I'm sorry, Unaliving America's Heartland. And
Wow.
Even
it's a
folks
They get
communities.
close. They don't admit what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing says is the true
right.
problem, and that's why I was bringing up this study, because
Yep.
that is
Well,
that what is it, D? What happened?
oppressor is oppressing himself in so many ways just to negate us.
Right. Yeah.
White people
And
are saying the same thing, and
mhm.
they don't, because they don't like to hear it coming from you or Dr. Cresswell, but they'll hear it from white people. So
Right.
here's a book that a white
Mhm.
person is saying your problem is fear. Your
Mhm.
problem is fear, an unfounded fear. That's what they say. That's what their own people are saying, but they don't want to listen.
And the fear is a fear of a world that doesn't look like them. It's a
Mm-hmm.
thing that Dr. Francis Cress Welsing called, I'm not sure if I could say these words on TikTok. YT Yin Etic Survival.
Let's just call it recessive gene syndrome.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Recessive gene
Syndrome.
syndrome. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. All right. Recessive gene syndrome. They have recessive gene survival built into their society, and when they see a black man, it's like watching a walking alligator walk past them, because black men can do what they did to black women and put an end to their future generations being so pure. Um, and we as men have the power to do that. Women don't have that power. If a woman pulls out a pum pum, points it at a man and says, "Give me what you got," the man's, it goes down in the presence of fear. So, biologically, men have the power to impose, and that's why black men are the ones that they fear. Also, the reason why when they would from trees, put our ancestors up in a tree, they would also shave off or cut off their, scrotum, was because they that's where the genetic material lies. No other people in history has been so focused on the genitals of a man as the Europeans and the anti-black Arabs, because that is what they fear that we're going to use. So that's a thing. Yeah, family jewels. Okay, yeah. So yeah, you'll never find a melanated people on Earth that have done things like that to mutilate someone. Um, there's no proof of that anywhere. That is something uniquely YT, and the reason they did it was because subconsciously, that is what they fear. So that's the whole thing, man. I've been
Louis,
doing.
I think Louis wants
Yeah.
to come up here. Louis Kosnovich. Don't you want to come up here? Because you're not afraid of us, right? So why don't you come in the box? How about that? You're not going to hear that phrase very much in your life, I assume.
No, but see, that's the thing.
You don't hear "come in the box" very often. I'm certain.
That's the thing
So
is,
take advantage.
even if they're not afraid of us per se, they are afraid of a world that doesn't look like them in the future. What they're fighting against is, however, nature, and that's part of the reason why their culture removes people from nature so much. It puts you in a society where everything is man-made around you. You have to remove all your body hair if you're a woman. You have to speak a certain way that may not even be natural to you. You have to straighten your hair, remove all humanness from you. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't fart in a boardroom meeting. You can't, burp or say a swear word and be professional. Everything has to be in their culture is anti-human, and so that's because they're running from nature. They're running because nature, for most of human history, everyone was melanated. That's just a fact. Like after our human beings, after the ancestors to human beings started to lose their hair, if you shave a dog, the hair beneath a dog is white or pink. And so when we were in the hot savannah, not we, but the predecessor to Homo sapiens were in the hot savannas of Africa, and their brains started to grow larger. Your brain needs to remain a certain temperature. You can't overheat, you pass out. So having fur was not suitable to that environment. So we started to lose fur, and we started to get sweat glands. Sweat glands, less fur. Not all of it, but sweat glands, less fur. You lose fur, now you got this pink, white skin, and that is gonna, affect your relationship with the sun, because now the sun can give you cancer in 2 decades. So that being the case, you now have to develop melanin. So we know that the original man had melanin. We know that was at least 300,000 years ago. We have proof of this. So for 300,000 years, up until the past 50 to 30,000 years, everybody was melanated. And then race itself is brand new. That's just a whole 500 years. So, you know.
And it's capitalistic in nature. That's the justification for the construct to begin with. So stupid, but it exists, and we all have to live with it now.
Well, see, that's the thing. Francis Cress Welsing also says is capitalism is a byproduct of still that same fear. Something that they constantly say is it's not about race, it's really about class, it's really about money. And the thing is, they can make money, they can't make melanin. And that's what their insecurity is. That's the, what did you call it, recessive gene insecurity that they have. They have this insecurity. I'm not saying it's founded. I'm not saying it's reasonable. It sounds idiotic to those of us with melanin, but this is what they're afraid of, because
I completely agree with you, and I'm not going to fight you on. They can't. It is absolutely unjustifiable. It makes no sense, because there's no point in time where they can point to a melanated demographic and say that melanated people have sought to eradicate them. Have sought, like there's no point in time where you can look to in history and say melanated people came here and sought to subjugate my people and or eradicate us entirely from the face of the earth. It has never happened. Name a place and time. I challenge you to do it. I will research it. Find that for me. Drop it in the comments. Whatever. I will do a deep dive to try to validate what you're saying. It hasn't happened.
They went. I mean, the only healthy way to look at it, really, and this would, I know, probably be impossible for them to look at it, but it would just be, hey guys, we needed this phenotype to carry us through the Ice Age. The Ice Age is over. Now it is okay for us to just go back to brown and everything will be all right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that would just be the healthy way to do it. Like, let's just dive back into humanity. We got separated for a little bit there during the Ice Age. There
would require too much relinquishing of false ideologies, false narratives about superiority. Yeah, that would require the admission of too many lies, right? Now I have to outward tell you that manifest destiny was bullshit, because it wasn't just based on Christianity, it was also based on whiteness, right? Now I have to tell you that all of these atrocities committed over hundreds of years were entirely bullshit and based on nothing but a false sense of superiority. That will never happen. They'll never do it. It'll never happen.
Yep. And now they've perpetuated their means for survival in Europe. To have that phenotype in the coldest parts of Europe meant that you would survive. So that's why they would have an aversion to blackness, because if your kid comes out with melanin, they might not survive. So now the ones that did have melanin didn't survive. The ones that did, they kept breeding, having, procreating, having more and more children, to the point where eventually they got thinner noses, so that your nostrils are not so big, so that you're not breathing in all the cold air going straight to your lungs.
It's adaptation.
Bigger calves, because your feet, you have to get blood to your feet to keep them warm. Black people tend to have skinnier legs, things like that.
Skinnier legs, skinnier feet. But agreed, 100%. But now you see that they're, Israel's a perfect example. You want to now you want to take over places that
you ain't supposed to be.
You might not need to be in, and now your cancer rate is going crazy. Y'all asses, you're being defeated by the sun.
Right.
Because you wanna take over shit that you might need to just back away from. Go chill in the climates. Stick to the climates and the places you're used to. I'm just saying. In the wise words of TLC,
Right.
stick to that shit you're used to. It's
Yeah.
unnecessary out here trying to take some shit that you don't need to be trying to take. You gonna
Right.
take some cancer into your system is what you're gonna take. It's unnecessary.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They want to produce melanin. They'll take the cancer. They'll take it because that's what they do when they go tanning. They say, shoot, I might be on a that's how they feel, you know. So but we got Speak up here. Speak, you want to talk, brother?
Peace, man. I'm just listening. Y'all going in. Shout out to the wisdom.
Yeah,
Y'all going in.
man.
Just real quick. I don't got much to say. Let's get to 50K likes, y'all. Let's get the numbers up so people can start rolling in. Tap the screen for the people in the comments. Fill up that bar 3 times. Let's get the shares to 30 shares. So share it live with up to 10 people. And if you enjoying the content, make sure you gift the host. And you gifted Miss Diva down there. That's all I got for now.
Appreciate you, Speak. Thank you. Yeah, we was live earlier and it kept glitching, I think. But yeah, we just restarted. So let's get to 50, y'all. Timothy, could you give us your age, race, and pronouns, please?
Hey, King.
Hey, what's going on?
Back at it.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk
age,
to
race,
us.
and
I'm sorry, you didn't have to reintroduce yourself. We did that already tonight. Go ahead, talk to us.
oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so yeah, like definitely everything that Dr. Francis Cress Welsing was talking about is 100% correct. Because even in the videos that you would see of, I think there was one video in particular back in 2018 where there was a young man that was walking around California asking people, like what racial group they would date. And, very specifically, a woman of European ancestry stated that she would only marry or only be dating black men because she wanted her legacy to survive in the future. Because without melanin.
Yeah, I seen that.
Yep. So recent studies, or at least recent research within like the last 50 years, has already proven that melanin or higher concentrations of naturally produced melanin has been linked to better eyesight, faster muscle twitch response, I believe. It's been linked to anti-aging properties. And it's even been linked to having higher brain function, like having higher cognitive abilities. So people of European ancestry know all of this. That's why they overprice the textbooks. That's why they make sure that people can't gain access to the universities. And that's why they never make information like that extremely public when it does get released. And there are research paper after research paper after research paper of all of this. And they know this. So at the end of the day, that's the main reason why I personally believe that they try to restrict people of African ancestry from gaining access to that knowledge. Because once we know that, we then now have the tools necessary to be able to combat against their attempts at integrating their genetics into us.
Yeah, damn. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
Every time I encounter, look, I'm child free as hell, but every time I encounter some very intelligent, brothers, I rethink my stance. I really do. I think, I think my ovaries get to popping a little bit, and I reconsider my stance just a little bit.
How old are you? You don't mind me asking? All right, never mind.
I'm a grown ass woman.
You know.
I still got time.
An aversion to growing older is part of European Eurocentric beauty standard that we didn't have in Africa.
I'm grown as hell. No, I'm 41. Right. I don't ever hide how old I am.
Well, the reason I asked is because Dr. Francis Cress Welsing says that women shouldn't have, in our community, it'd be best if women didn't have children until they were 30, and men didn't have children until they were 35.
I would agree. I encouraged my younger brother not to marry at the age that because he was in his 20s. I didn't want him to marry, and I want him to wait until he was at least 30 to marry, and then worry about children after that. He didn't listen to me, but I really didn't want him to do that because I felt like that's the point at which we start to really learn who we are. That's also the point at which I believe most people become a little bit more financially stable. And yes, and you're past the age of, you're not in that brain development stage anymore. Your brain is fully developed. You out here functioning as a full ass adult for a few years, and now you can make some sound decisions. So I really tried to encourage him to wait a little bit. So I 100% agree.
Yeah, she was talking about, she looks at like racism as like a game of checkers. And on our side, they basically don't want us to have mature relationships and be mature as we raise our children. They want us to be immature raising children, because children raising children just going to lead to more, problems in the family.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And they try to, from a cultural standpoint, get us to have children super young before we're prepared. And they do it through fear mongering. But we know very well we can continue to produce children in our 30s and our 40s. So calm the fuck down, people.
Yeah.
we our grannies and stuff was still pushing out. My mom was having kids in her late 30s. Calm down. We can still.
My mom had my sister at 40. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got friends. One of my friends, in Dallas, she had her first child at my age, at 41. Baby is perfectly healthy. She's perfectly healthy. She out here living her very best life, and I think she's 44 now.
Yeah, that's fire, man.
One thing I also wanted to add, if I could, and let me know if you need to kick me at any point. That even when we're looking at recent studies showing population increases and decreases in Africa versus Europe, you are actually clearly able to see that experts estimate that, I believe, over 160 million less people of European ancestry are expected to be in Europe by the year 2100, but upwards of an additional 2 to 3 billion are expected to be adding to the population of people living in Africa. So they know for a fact that, and that's part of the reason why they always try to implement some new random, vaccine or medicine, and they always trying to, hey, we're trying to help you guys in Africa, when in reality, what they're trying to do is, I personally believe they're trying to sterilize people as well as eradicate people. And yeah, like mainly they know that people of African ancestry are genetically more fertile. They know this. They know that,
and that's part of what the G-sides are about in Africa as well. So the destabilization of Africa has so many different functions, right? It serves the function of stealing the resources from the area, keeping Black people in the area disempowered, impoverished, unable to kind of self-govern, as long as Western powers own their resources or dictate how their resources are managed, even if it's by proxy through figurehead leadership that's truly being controlled by Western powers. Even if it looks like they're democratically elected. And I think what's happening in the Congo right now may be a good example of that. I'm still digging into the research on that. But that the president that we're seeing there now, the way that he's aligned himself with Israel, the way that he has, I'm not going to go, I'll go down a rabbit hole. But the alignment that we're seeing by certain leaders in Africa is a great example of that. So to your point, I think that it's a multi-pronged problem that we're seeing there, and they do it through medicine. They do it through medicine here in the United States, in the way that they're unaliving Black women who have children or who have any sort of physical care, women's health care that's necessary. They're giving unnecessary hysterectomies, for example, to Black women.
Right.
And ensuring or trying to ensure that Black women across the globe are not producing children at the rate that they likely would without Wahite intervention.
And assuring white women can't get abortions.
And ensuring, yes, absolutely, because the abortion ban here in the United States had nothing to do with protecting, babies of color. This was all about making sure that Wahite babies caught back up in the race.
Right.
Which really, they fucked themselves, because we know that race mixing is on the rise. So your asses is going to end up with a whole lot more Black and brown babies, whether you like it or not. Y'all did some dumb shit, and the math isn't mathing. But go ahead and go off, sir, ma'am.
I'm going to take a pause for the cause, y'all, real quick. So Leisha locked up the chat. Can you guys tap that screen? Let's get to 75K. But Leisha got this thing on lock. So tap that screen. Let's get up to 75K so that we can unlock the chat.
Thank you, system. Yeah, this is quite a conversation. I need a prompt about some of this, but I guess I could make a prompt about it.
I think also another part of that is trauma. I think these systems have been set up and maintained by traumatizing kids, our youth, the Black community, whether it's starting from a young age with being in the school system and being traumatized, wrongfully punished, being thrown in, the pipeline, losing a parent. I think all of this, I believe that the part of that is to intentionally find ways to cause trauma, because that causes destruction of the community and of individuals' spirit and connection. I believe that's just kind of something I've been really thinking about when it comes to empowerment is the trauma, long 500 years of trauma that's been caused to the Black community is intentional, especially now.
Can you expound upon that a little bit? I think I know where you're going with that from a systemic standpoint, but I want to make sure I'm...
So let me give you an example. I had a friend who she was good mom, young. She was overwhelmed. She didn't have the support of her family, but she's a good mom, worked, took care of her kids. I think she had 4. And she, on adult nights when she was with adult people and her kids were safe with the grandparents or the dad, she went to, maybe had a couple drinks, maybe even smoked a little herb. Well, a family member got upset because of whatever reason, called CPS and made horrific charges. They removed the kids for a couple months so they could investigate. Well, I also had a white friend, same exact thing, except her drug was chemical. It was the meth. She did not lose contact with her kids for longer than 2 days, and she was returned to those kids were returned to the home. Those kids that she lost she didn't have her kids in the home for those 2 months for an investigation that ended up being unfounded. They suffered. See, there's systems set up where they can't go to the family when they're being under guardianship.
Yeah, my sister's a social worker, so I get where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they now more so put them into a foster care, families that they don't know across town in another state. They do that in Oregon too. Well, that creates trauma. They know that.
Absolutely.
If they really wanted to support, and I'm not saying all systems, I don't even know how the system really works other than what I've learned from people's experiences.
It
But
works just like that.
What it seemed like is they will go after a Black woman and her family unit, her kids, under the pretenses of keeping the kids safe, and then putting them in foster care in a white family where they are subject to abuse, racial abuse. They're traumatized more and then returned, and now the mom is stuck. Not stuck, I shouldn't say that. The mom has to deal with the aftermath of that trauma that those kids caused. So I personally believe a lot of that stuff is intentional.
Oh yeah, it's intentional. I can give you 5 different cases, and I have 3 clients that work in the child care. Like they literally go in to remove the children, and I can give you 5 different cases that look completely different based on how Black women are treated and how YT women are treated. And one case literally was with meth is the drug of choice right now. There was a mother who very much was on it, dating a person, I'll just say a person, who was graping her 6-year-old and her 3-year-old. And when I tell y'all, as many times as this lady got reported they never moved them children, when a Black woman, there was an accusation made. These kids were moved out of that house within the next day. And the sad part about the babies that were raped is that it went on for months, and they went in with a what do you call it, like a blue light or whatever. Do y'all know they walked that whole house, and this man's you know what was everywhere, like in every room. And these babies have been violated because they were more willing to let those babies stand at home than the Black kids that literally it was just a false accusation. And I can give you 5 different stories that this has happened. And like I said, 3 of my clients are literally caseworkers. It is the most. It's disgusting.
Well, what about that white woman? What about that white woman who just unalived her 2 biracial kids? You know? They had complaints or something. They had complaints, calls. The family was trying to get the kids. Nothing was done, and look at what happened.
Two adopted mothers. They were lesbian couple that
no, this was a Wahite lady who had 2 biracial children. I believe they were both little boys, and they were like 9 and 6, and she unalived her babies in a bedroom at some point after having been reported multiple times to CPS, and nobody ever did anything about it. One day she just took a pew and pew-pewed both children 2 times each, then went out to the yard, started crying and saying, I'd never do something like this unless someone manipulated me. There's no evidence that anybody influenced her to do anything, forced her to do anything. But she did have CPS called on her multiple times by family members, by Black family members, by the way. Her oldest child had, the father had passed away, but the father's family also embraced her younger child. And they were trying to advocate to get access, from the reports that I saw and read, we're trying to get access to the children, and we're willing to take in both children, while, something occurred with the mother because there were some problems with the mother. The utilities weren't even on in the home. It was a whole hot ass mess, but nobody ever sought to remove those children or do anything about it. The whole situation went ignored, and those children ended up unalived.
And she was hearing things. She was hearing the voices of her ancestors. That's who she was listening to. She was listening to the people that did the what is that Virginia law that gave the white women the right to unalive the mixed babies. I forgot.
Racial Killing Act?
Yes.
Black librarian, I ain't messing with you today. Okay. We don't know who this Wahite woman was tapping to. It was probably Satan, whatever we call Satan. But yeah, I ain't gonna fight you on that one, because she was listening to somebody that told her to unalive them little precious babies.
That part. Keep tapping so we can free the chat, y'all. Keep tapping so we can free the chat. We're trying to get to 75. You guys rushed to 50. That was awesome. We're at 60. Let's keep tapping. Let's get to 75 so we can free the chat. I know y'all want something this.
But big facts, and I appreciate what you were talking about. I knew that you were going somewhere systemic with that, but I just wanted you to kind of expound on it, not just for my clarification, but for the clarification of anybody that's listening, because I figured that was where you were going. I thought you were going to head towards, the police state that we live in, the school to prison pipeline, whatever. But
I could talk about Sheriff Joe. I lived in Phoenix for 25 years. We can go there if you want to.
I think we
You
good.
knew that dude?
We got the gist of it. We got the gist of it, and I think that the example that you gave was even better because it's a less talked about problem. But they're all interconnected. So I just wanted to have an example to kind of
Hey
latch
now,
on
brother.
to. But
Let me
I
change the
100% agree
topic.
with you.
They been
Mm.
on your
And
back.
the trauma, to your point, I do believe that the trauma is intentional. I do believe that it is contrived in a lot of ways. And we know this by the school to prison pipeline. We know this by the way that our Black children are treated in school. And despite all of the evidence, all of the data that has specified that Black children are being targeted in school, there has been nothing done to lessen the exposure of that, the burden of that, the harm being done to Black children, Black families, as a result of how people have been socialized to view Black people and Black children especially. And we know that Black children are adultified, generally speaking. Okay, we have multiple studies. Go pull up a Pew Research study. I was reading one about little Black girls recently. Little Black girls are considered adults by the Wahite demographic at the age of 9. How the hell you look at a 9-year-old and adultify them
It
in
hurts my heart.
and treat a 9-year-old like a grown-ass woman? But this
It
goes
hurts my
back to
heart.
what Brother Legend was saying about the categorization of Black people and how you only get baby or I believe you said baby or woman or whatever. There's only a few classifications for each.
Right.
So you don't get an opportunity to be a child when you're a Black child. You don't get that classification. That's the reason why Tamir Rice never had a moment. He had less than 30 seconds to live the moment the police pulled up on scene. They did a whole drive-by on that little boy, and he was 12 years old. He never
Black
had an
women.
opportunity because he was adultified immediately because he's Black. Period. Our children don't have the opportunity to even be seen as children for longer than toddler age, essentially. Once you have passed that little QT point, they stop you in the mall. They do, and I had to raise, I think that's why I don't got no kids, because I was raising kids that was not mine. But anyway, we won't talk about that right now. But they stopping you in the mall. They want to see, oh, they're so cute. And they want to pinch your kids' cheeks and do all the foolishness with your children while they're toddlers, they're infants to toddler age, 5, 6, 7 years old. But after that, your children are suddenly a threat, right? Black children are suddenly a threat at that point. They disengage with the kids. Now the Black kids are problems at school. Now the Black kids, they have no use for them. And it's weird as hell, but we see the data that demonstrates what is actually happening, and nobody is talking about that. So to your point, Black librarian, I do believe it's systemic, and I do believe it's intentional, because if it wasn't intentional, something would be done about it, because these research studies are not new. We've had access to this data for over 20 years now.
I'm glad you brought that up, because to me it seems it's historic, because once a Black child reached the age of 4, sometimes 3 years old, they were put out on the fields and put to work. So I'm thinking there's some sort of link from that time to how especially teachers, because I was just reading something about that, and the teachers and how mentally they look at Black children as being adults even before they turn a teenager. And I personally am seeing a connection with that mentality to the same connection to when they would see, oh, this is today it's cute. Can I touch their hair? Can I touch their cheek? Back then it was, what are they worth? What are they going to be worth? How are they going to produce for me when they're old enough to be put out on the fields? And I'm not saying it's factual. I'm not a scholar, but I do read it. It seems like there's a connection with that.
absolutely a connection, because you don't have to be a scholar. Go and just look at The Color Purple. Look at how Miss Minnie approached Sophia about her babies and complimented her supposedly on her babies and said, "Oh, they're so clean, they're so..."
Yep.
And then suddenly she wanted to have access, that she wanted ownership, she wanted dominion, right? It's as simple as that. It really is. It's that simple.
Exactly. Like, one thing I wanted to add is just that very much so, they know the ways in which stress and trauma impact the Black community. They know it very, very well because they study us regularly. And the reason why they do deliberately perpetuate trauma and traumatic situations, as well as high stress, high anxiety situations, is because they know that when you're under extreme amounts of trauma and when you're under extreme amounts of stress, you are more likely to react not in a thought, like analytical kind of way, in a logical way. And it benefits YT society that the very people groups that they inflict the most trauma, the most stress, the most high anxiety on react in a way that is in response to that high anxiety, that trauma, in a way that gets them locked up in jail, because then they then can go ahead and push them right on through the school to prison pipeline. They can push them right on through mass incarceration. And then they can say, oh, well, see here, he assaulted a police officer. But what they will never mention is that, all right, that police officer spent the last half an hour accosting him, coming up to him, grabbing and touching on him when he did not violate the law in any way, shape, or form. And it is very, very deliberate, and they know exactly what they are doing. And the main thing that we should be doing, I believe, as people of African ancestry, is to study them just as much as they study us. Because at the end of the day, the vast majority of the traumas that we are facing within our own communities is literally just us being forced to replicate their own culture. And they're starting to make discoveries about that, and they're starting to do the research and find out that, oh, for thousands of years we've been disrespectful to our women. For thousands of years we've been disrespectful to our children. Whereas in African nations, they have not been that way. Women used to be painted the color of yellow to signify their divinity in ancient Kemet, because women were seen as goddesses. Women were seen as divine. And children were seen as the manifestation of a previous spirit, I believe is, and correct me if I'm wrong about that. So you would see children and women with the utmost respect, and you would treat them with the utmost respect because it was directly linked to our spirituality and our spiritual beliefs. But you don't start seeing a whole bunch of like atrocities and a whole bunch of aggressive activities happening where parents of African ancestry would be inflicting any amounts of pain towards their children or inflicting trauma towards their children until you start seeing the slave trades happening.
That's right. That's right.
And they know all of this. That's why they keep on perpetuating the atrocities. That's why they keep on perpetuating the trauma, because it's 10 times easier to just, all right, I'll just inflict trauma. I'll take the father away from the home. So that way then, now if he has daughters, those daughters will be raised by the streets. They're not going to be raised by a man in the house teaching them how a man is supposed to love you, how a man is supposed to do this, and that also helps to benefit their human trafficking rings. And right, which is exactly like I made a post about this a while back, but even I think above in 2020, roughly 90 or at least over 90,000 Black women were reported missing. And those numbers are annually, roughly. And in the vast majority of those cases, you'll see the same type of dynamic. It's a woman who was under the age of 18 or right about that 18 age being forced into human trafficking because they were being manipulated by individuals that were either close to them, but in the vast majority of those cases, the people that are facilitating or requesting and creating the demand for these Black bodies are YT middle-aged men married with kids.
And they call those girls runaways, and they call them prostitutes.
Yep.
Instead of calling them what they are, which is victims. They're if these were blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girls going missing,
they would have a whole other name for them.
Well,
So I
y'all.
want to say something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, speak.
I don't agree with what this brother just said about studying those people, because why would a black person or African want to study or learn how to become a savage? I know I don't want to say that term in here. Why would we want to study that behavior? Hold on. When Africans or black people are naturally loving people, we don't steal people. We don't enslave people. We don't bring people up from different places in the world and bring them to Africa or any land to force them to become basically a dog, or force them to build up land that's already rich in minerals and all these things. Why would we want to study that behavior in terms of those Europeans? I don't agree with that.
The reason why we study the behavior is so that we can better
because I've been
fight
listening,
against
but
it.
I don't agree with that. Why would we want to learn that behavior and become those people? And look what they did to the world.
Oh, no,
I know
we're
that's
already
what they
forced
fear.
to emulate their culture.
I know that's what they
learn those
fear
behaviors
of
to
us
fight against them.
returning or reciprocating that same energy that they threw on us. But I don't agree with black people learning that behavior or studying that to mimic that nonsense. I don't agree with that.
Y'all are both right. We're not going to emulate the actions, but it's a precaution of defense. So y'all are both right. We don't want to be those people ever. But to survive in an environment or climate that someone puts you in, is to also know what they're coming with and what they're using against you. Y'all are both right.
He was talking about analysis, understanding your enemy, understanding.
We already understand them.
I get what you're saying. Look,
People
I'm not.
been
Look,
away
I'm
from
not
Africa
arguing
for years.
but,
What is it, 400 to 500 years
brother,
now?
I'm
We
not
already know
arguing
what it is.
against
But I'm
you.
gonna let you go ahead. We
I'm
already
trying
know
to
what it is.
clarify. I'm trying to clarify something because I don't think I don't think that y'all are saying something different. I think you misunderstood or have some sort of disconnect between what the two of y'all are saying. Because he wasn't saying nothing about studying them for the purpose of becoming them or utilizing any of their tactics. From what I understood him to be saying, he was talking about study them the way they study us, so we know the way they move, so we can anticipate their next move. I think most black people already do that. I think most black people already know that. But I think he was just clarifying for whomever is watching this that that is what we should be doing on a day-to-day basis, is understanding how the enemy moves so that we can anticipate those movements and head them off at the pass, know how to counter move to make sure that we keep our people safe. I believe that's what he was saying, but I'm not going to speak for the brother. If Timothy want to chime back in, if y'all want to have a dialogue,
it's no disconnect. Trust me, I already understood, but again, I still disagree.
I had to study white people when I lived in rural Oregon to understand why I was feeling this the way I was feeling. I didn't understand a lot of things I understand now about white culture, white supremacy, and in order for me to connect what I learned on these lives, I had to sit back and watch these people behave so I could understand how to protect myself, how to set boundaries, and how to identify some of those behaviors that were impacting me that I was unaware of. So, like when I listen to Diva, Brother Legend speak, even you sometimes, I learn something. I'm studying, but I may not be able to be that way yet. I may not be able to. Um, um, do that until without practice. So I had to sit back and study these people so I could learn what y'all already knew. See, I didn't know a lot of that stuff, and y'all taught me with with helping me um understand that with education, and then also me being in that situation and studying them and their behaviors and making the connection. So I understand what Timmy is saying, and what Speak's saying for me was I did not become them. I had to study them so I wouldn't become them, because I feel I was susceptible of becoming them because of my background. So I get what both are saying, and I think both are actually right.
Right. No, I appreciate that, Queens, and Speak. No, I definitely do agree with you, King. Like I do. Like I do not advocate for attempting to be like them. Not at all. But in order to be able to defend ourselves adequately against the new type of measures that they will try to take, I do believe that it's important for us to have a firm understanding of just how they are, and not necessarily to attempt to, like, all right, let's replicate their methods, because that's not in our nature, that's not in our culture. And but I would say the main thing is that if we don't know that the shot is coming because we didn't do enough digging into the type of shots that they like to make, then that shot could be that much more devastating for us. That's the only argument that I was making. But
What you're saying, Timothy, is out of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and Neely Fuller's playbook. Yeah, that they said the same thing, basically, that even though we black, just because, yeah, please mute. Just because we black, don't mean we understand racism, and that's something I had to study because, my goodness, I would.
You go out, brother? We can't
I'm
hear you.
sorry, y'all. My microphone was dying, but
Just
I
because
was
you
saying
black
I would.
doesn't mean you understand racism.
Yeah, just because you black don't mean you understand racism and patriarchy, especially as black men, because I would never have unpacked patriarchy the way I have in my life if I didn't study Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and Neely Fuller breaking it down, because patriarchy is something that seems, well, the way they make it seem is like,
Mute. Go on mute.
Idea, you are
man, we
interrupting
just
the
getting a bunch of
conversation.
checks
Yeah,
here
he
today,
going
bro.
already. I'm about to say
I'll drop them.
you wildin'. Go ahead, legend. Yeah, he
But
bugging out.
I would have never unpacked it the way I have, because patriarchy, they make it seem like it's natural. It's the natural way to be. Like, man is the head of the house, woman has the kids, watches the kids, cleans the house. I mean, even if you don't want to agree with the cleaning the house part, like, yeah, nobody. I'm not saying nobody. Damn. See, now I'm speaking for other men. I did never want to have a wife that was a maid, but I know some men think that way, and then also I would say a lot of men think that way, and then your wife is the only one that's cooking. Certain things are feminine. You can't express emotion. You don't vent to your girl, you don't vent to your wife. You know what I'm saying? And like certain things, and it's like, I thought this was natural. That's the way I was raised, with patriarchy, because my family, we were Christian. So, the man was just a certain way. He didn't take care of himself. My father, I never seen my father set a doctor's appointment. I had to learn how to do that myself. Like, and I still struggle with it to this day. My wife be damn near dragging me to the doctor sometimes, and it's something I'm working on taking care of. I'm just learning how to, make sure my beard is oiled and my skin is clear. I never gave a damn about none of that. And what I'm trying to say though is, when the more you study things, the more you start to see the racism and how racism has affected our culture all around us. And now you could pick what parts of our culture we want to keep, and what part of our culture was just a survival technique during our ancestors' enslavement. Spanking your kids was something that they did. Their justification for it was either I'm going to do it or Master going to do it. So I'm gonna do it so that you act right and you listen to me, so that Master don't end up doing it to you later on. This might have, I'm not an advocate for this at all. Maybe it worked for them. Now we're not in that such type of environment where it's that overt. We're not in an institution of slavery anymore. I mean, there is institutional, incarceration, of course. But anyway, what I'm trying to say though is, studying shows you what not to be. So we don't want to be them, but we also have to study to know what they are, to know not to be them. That's what I'm saying.
Hello.
Yeah.
You
Go ahead, Diva.
that
I was
screen.
gonna say something.
I'm gonna reset real quick. Speak, bro, real quick. Tap the screen. Let's get to 75K, you guys. Go ahead and share the live. Invite your friends, your frenemies, and your enemies. Go ahead and tap that screen. 75K is what we're looking for, you guys. And then 100. We got a 300K goal today, and we need to get it. You guys, share the live. Make sure you subscribe. But most importantly, tap that screen.
And if your fingers ain't broke, you ain't doing it right. Power tap, power tap.
Appreciate you.
So, Legend, to what you said, I agree with you on that point that a lot of black people don't understand racism in full and patriarchy and all these things. Because I'm gonna put it like this: like I'm a millennial, right? I feel that a lot of people in my age group are not socially conscious at a level where some black people are. It can go back to how we were taught in our school system, right? Imagine going from grade school, you graduate college, you go straight, you graduate high school, you go straight into college, and then you go straight into a career. If that's your teachings, you blind as hell as a black person. If you not have done the work to study some of these texts that you talk about, these books, if you haven't watched documentaries, and if you haven't dug deeper into history, not American history, but African history that exists within the confines of America, and studied just Africans around the globe where we are at and what happened to us, you are blind as hell. And with that said, some people that even come on this panel from time to time, you can hear people that live on the motherland. They don't understand racism because they have Europeans on the motherland all over the place right now. And I said it not too long ago. They wearing dashikis, these Europeans. They speaking the language that don't belong to them. They dancing, they doing traditions that don't belong to those people. But some Africans allow that because they've been infiltrated for a long time. And in other places in the world, same difference. And some black people are not aware of what racism looks like and how blind they actually are. And it's sad because just listen to them come up here. They call them raccoons. They try to fight the fact that interracial should be happening and it's just fine. Love is love. Yeah, let's blend with those people. It's all good. Of course, I could be pro-black and deal with them people. Like, that's stupid. So I agree with you, and I land there, that a lot of people or black people don't understand racism, patriarchy, and have not studied enough to open up their horizons, if that makes sense. I land.
And the thing of word, that's facts. And the thing about patriarchy too is that a lot of us understand it through the lens of white feminism, and so even when you try to tell some brothers about it, they don't even want to listen to you because they think you want that other stuff. When really, dismantling patriarchy is probably the most empowering thing a black man could do, for real. To be honest, it frees you. It frees you and brings you back to how our ancestors was rocking. You know, we had matrilineal family structure. So, you know, we understood that we had to balance the power of men by giving more power to our sisters and our mothers. But at the same time, that made us stronger.
Oh
And
my God.
you know, that was the whole thing. So, all right, y'all. We got new people on the panel.
So sure, that's all he's
Who
guilty of.
came up here first?
Had nothing to do with it.
Brian, you got some background noise. I'm gonna mute you.
You hear me?
I think Miss Sandra at the top came up
Yeah.
first. Brian came
Okay.
down after.
Oh, so why people keep leaving? That kept happening all day.
That's so weird because we just said, "Hey, she just came," like, and then she.
Right.
That's weird. Okay.
Okay. People keep leaving. It's the weirdest thing. People have been joining, leaving. And then we got Brian. Brian, give us your age, race, and pronouns, please. You're muted. Brian McPherson. Oh, it's okay, Sandra. I was just making sure it wasn't the app, but I appreciate you coming up
Yo,
anyway.
Pale Man. I mean, Brian, we need you to unmute.
Who are you
We can't
again?
hear you talking.
Who the fuck done mute?
Just talk to him. He asked if that was the end of
I
it.
don't think Brian know he's up here. He don't know what he was doing.
The cat video. He don't give
That
a damn.
that's really what's been going on this whole time. Like we keep getting like we've had a few
Weirdos.
trolls. Yeah, like all weirdos.
He busy making another cat video. I went and looked at his profile. Everything's a cat video. Sir, I don't know why you requested, but go make your ass another cat video and stay the hell out of black people business. How about that?
Yeah.
It's weird.
That's cool. Okay. But yeah, I forgot what we was talking about. I'm uploading videos on YouTube so y'all can see them. Oh yeah, we was talking about patriarchy. A good starting point for brothers. I know sisters might give me some pushback on this, but for brothers, if y'all listening and you want to start, you got to start somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might not go from a brother that is unaware of his misogyny and a follower of patriarchy to who's the opposite of that? Dwayne Wade. You might not turn into Dwayne Wade overnight, but if you want to start somewhere, Dwayne Wade is a good example, right? I'm not sure. Is Dwayne Wade misogynistic? I don't think so.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if I have a lot of evidence of that. But Layla, you over here talking about so black and white people should be segregated. Yeah, go ahead and start now by leaving. Bye. Oh, we don't need you here. Troll elsewhere. You're boring. Making silly ass comments. Get the fuck out of here. All right, back to what you were saying. Dwayne Wade, I'm not really sure. The way that he's been very open with his child's fluidity, the gender fluidity, sexuality situation, I don't know. I don't know
Because it's his
if
child,
somebody that
Kevin.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I say that's because it's his child. In relationship wise, I think he was.
I'm not sure. What I said is I'm not sure. I don't know. I was using that as an example of my own perception of him, but I don't know much about him beyond that, so I can't speak to his relationships and all of that.
Go back to
I
when
don't know.
him and Gabrielle first started dating.
Okay, I don't know much about that. I really don't.
So he was a big cheater, and
Oh, word?
he was doing his own thing. Like the way that they got married was wild. Like I don't know why they got married. He had a child on her. Like they supposedly had separated, whatever, but he was cheating in the midst of their relationship. He has a child in the middle of all that, and then they got back together, got married, and then they had a child. Like it's a mess. He has his own level. Like he can be considered toxic masculinity. Even the way he handled his son's older.
So who's an example of a man that don't have that problem, or at least expresses that he doesn't want to be part of that problem, like how white people work on racism.
Yeah, I could say Will Smith, but then I was jumping.
I was about to say Will Smith too.
No.
Oh man, Will Smith was clapping them cheeks. Will Smith was
Denzel.
clapping Dwayne.
Denzel. Yeah, you could say Denzel.
And Will Smith was smashing Margot Robbie supposedly.
Yo, y'all gotta chill.
Like,
Nah, Margot makes sense because you know how them Hollywood types be.
I don't care.
Dwayne Martin, that's wild.
That's
Me
a whole
and my
white
wife
he
actually
take
met
woman.
him.
If we're talking about black men and having positive black relationships,
like, no, that's not what we're going for. Because he's like, we're still stepping outside it. Like, if we're just talking about black on black relationships and how to foster those types of positive relationships, black dynamics between couples, he's not an example either. So I don't know who's an example. I'm still waiting too.
Right, we gonna have to wait.
Denzel, Samuel Jackson, those are good options. Who else?
Samuel L. Jackson.
I don't know, because Denzel did his wife dirty when he was smashing Sanaa Lathan all that time, but at least she black. But still, he was busting down Sanaa Lathan for years.
This on her. Tell naughty people business.
How you know all that? Yeah, like
Let me shut
That's
up.
crazy.
Well, I mean,
Damn.
Angela Bassett and her husband might be a good example, but I don't know the whole
Angela
dynamic.
Bassett. Okay.
Both of
Okay.
her men are a good example.
I
Thank
love their
you.
relationship.
I forgot his
Mhm.
name. He been in so many movies. I can't remember his name right now. But yeah, you're so right. And they actually support so many nonprofit causes, so many black causes. They're a very positive couple. Like I know some people who have worked with them for some nonprofit organizations and stuff like that. They're very humble. They show up to those events on a very like humble basis. Like nobody knows they're going to the shit. They just go, pop up, do their thing, and they out. So from what I understand about them, and I don't know any of them personally, so let me clarify that. But I do know people who have interacted with them. They cool as hell.
Yeah, I started Cosby. It's a to the no.
Somebody said what? No, y'all wilding. All right. Y'all go in the opposite direction.
That
So
not a misogynist. What
so
about
you might
Dr.
not
Umar
go from
Johnson?
you
No
might
snow
not go.
bunnies, man.
You might
Wait,
not
do
go
not bring up
from.
Umar. That is not a good example.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nah, that's the best
Umar.
example.
Michael Jackson,
Oh,
Bill Cosby, and R. Kelly. I don't know who that person was, but they should probably be blocked. That's some disrespect right there. That was a blatant disrespect. You just in here
Yeah.
being ignorant all in the comments.
All right, so let me get to let me finish my sentence because what I was trying to say is you might not go from R. Kelly to Angela Bassett's husband overnight, but if you want to start to do the work as a black man, I'm not going to recommend this for all men because some of y'all got a different relationship with patriarchy than we do. That's another thing we could talk about. How remember I told you the white T man is the man, and whenever the man walk in the room, black men can be the man. We could be the man when the man's not around, but when the man, so we could put his shoes on. We could put his shoes on when he not home. But as soon as he come in to the room, you'll see black men admonish. I don't know if that's the word, admonish or relinquish power back to the man. And so that's our relationship with patriarchy, is that we sometimes use it as a costume, but it's not something that belongs to us. And if you want to be more knowledgeable, I would start with Shahrazad Ali. A lot of be careful with her for a few reasons, but you can start there. Then I would take it to Bell Hooks. Shahrazad's book is A Black Man's Guide to Understanding Black Women. Don't read A Black Woman's Guide to Understanding Black Men. That's not for us. That's for the sisters. But that's let them figure that out. Read the second book, and then the next one, We Real Cool by Bell Hooks is a good one. And then what else do we got? I would also say the ISIS papers, but we talk about that so much it feels cliche. But yeah, Bell Hooks she's got more. Ain't I a Woman is another one. That one's real cool. That's cool. But yeah, there's more, but those are the ones that like got me started. And yeah, you gotta leave that patriarchy shit alone because it's really annoying. How many men do you see on this app every day, and they talking about black women, talking about their problems with women, talking about how women need to be, and all this other stuff. Like, bro, why are you so pressed about women, man? Like, focus on you, focus on your life, your spirit.
And it's
Why?
weird because it's not
Yeah.
even built for you, son. You don't even benefit from this bullshit structure that you're trying to reinforce and impose upon black women.
But you know
You're
why they do
only
it?
doing it so you could hopefully feel powerful because you don't feel powerful in your day-to-day existence as a black man.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking weird. Stop doing it. It's weird as hell.
But here's the
Exactly.
thing. But here's the
And
thing,
even the
just
patriarchy is a European construct in and of itself. Because,
Mhm.
I mean, even you can see it even in ancient like Roman culture. Like it was literally little to no rights were given to women, little to no rights were given to children. Like that's United States culture is quite literally a like a copy paste of how the dynamics were in ancient times between YT men and YT women.
Yeah,
So,
it's bootleg Rome. It's bootleg
yep,
Rome.
exactly.
right. And
It's funny. Let me just say something real quick, legend. On this app,
Kick you out.
people, well, some of our women even threw that on me. They say I'm a misogynist and that I hate black women,
oh yeah, I got a few warnings
especially with
now
how
too.
I talk. But the funny thing is, I'm amazed by how some women process what I be saying. Because I always say, if you listen to what I be talking about, I'm calling out behaviors. I call out behaviors, and a lot of what I do on my platform for a while that I did it because I stopped at this point is about accountability. Most of what I talk about is holding both sides accountable. Some women for what some women do on all levels, and then some men for what they do on all levels. And a lot of women process me calling out certain things as me hating the very woman that I actually love. I love me, my black woman. I'm a Pan-Africanist. I've never been with a napkin before, ever. And I
Like,
have no interest in. But some of these women have the spirit of Cynthia G, and they do everything in their power to go against black
that
men
powder
on this
puff
app.
yesterday. I
Some.
saw you. I
But
saw you.
it's amazing to me. Hold on, sister. It's amazing to me how people perceive things and process information. Because I always say that if you come talk to me in my platform, we're having a conversation.
You wouldn't let me up.
We're having yes, I would. Listen, listen, this just
G,
happened
go.
yesterday. I
Go,
was on
G,
a, I
go.
was,
No,
oh,
I
hold on,
got
hold on,
you
hold on,
yesterday.
hold
You
on.
wouldn't let me
I
talk.
was having
Nisha.
a conversation with a sister with a bigger platform than me. And a lot of her people hate me and they always pay to drop me. They always pay to drop me. And it's some of these women that, I have my in and outs with, or they just have an idea of me. But it's amazing that some women believe, just by way of how a man talks, that he's a misogynist or he has issues with women. But I don't.
Where you talk,
I
brother,
just
is
call out
important.
certain things. Hold on, y'all. Slow down. I got you. I'm gonna let y'all respond. They have this thing on this app. It only exists on this app. Like I always say, TikTok is a universe. Like it's its own planet. If you turn this app off, most of the conversations people have dissipate. These ideas, this rhetoric, most of that shit disappears. Because you'll literally turn this off and go to work in the morning, and all this chaos people talk about on this app, it don't even exist. It just exists on TikTok. If you go to another social media platform, the conversation changes completely, or IG or Twitter. Like it changes in certain ways. But some women process certain things in a negative way, and they just don't want to talk to certain people for certain reasons. Some of it is trauma, and then some of it is them being
I think that's most
intentional
of it.
about their response to a lot of this stuff. Because I've gotten that, and at this point,
I
I
want
don't
to talk
care
to
to
you.
hold on, sister. I don't care to correct that because come to my platform, come talk to speak, and you'll learn that I'm not this fucking demon that y'all make me out to be. I don't give a damn either, but I'm not that person. I land.
I'm gonna just say I was called a radical on Facebook in 2015
Oh, Lord.
repeatedly. I've been the same motherfucker every day, all day for a long ass time. So you gonna be hard pressed to find evidence to the contrary that I done changed by platforms or that my conversation changes by platform. Cause I done said the same shit on platform after platform that I done been on. But I hear what you're saying. Apparently that may not be true for everybody, but I've been the same OG in the wise words of Genuine. But anyway, I'm just say this. Sir, I don't know what you were saying because here's the thing. You can think that you're progressive. You could think that you are being receptive. You could think that you are not misogynistic, just as anybody can. Anybody can think that they don't have bigotry within them. Any sort of big, that is just simply not true. All of us, all of us have been indoctrinated with some form of bigotry, just by virtue of the society that we came up in, point blank, period. We have to unpack that, and we have to unpack it daily. And it is an active thing. It is just like decolonizing your mind is active. Any form of bigotry, any form of preconceived notions that you have about a specific demographic, and including as relates to gender identity, and sex, has to be unpacked. It has nothing to do with you individually as a person or an attack on you as a person. But we have to understand that. We have to understand it exists. We have to understand that we've internalized it. Even women. I'm a Black woman. I've internalized that shit. I've had to unpack misogynistic thinking and unpack that shit and unlearn that shit. And I still unlearn it every day. I am technically a queer woman, okay? Because having a queer identity means that you are not just attracted to one gender. Guess what? I have to unpack all the time the things that have been socialized into me that tell me to hate myself, because of white Christian ideologies that are embedded into our systems every single day, and the things that we have been taught under those systems to hate ourselves and to view sexuality under a white puritanical lens that even they can't live by the way. Okay? So that's wild as fuck. So what I'm saying is we have to unpack our own bigotry all the damn time, even when we don't even align with those thought processes, and we may be a part of the demographic that is being harmed by those narratives, and still we've internalized them. So, sir, I say this in love. You may think that about yourself. You may think you're not saying something that's harmful, but please listen to the people who are telling you that they're being harmed, or that you are saying something that is adverse to a specific demographic that you are not aiming to harm. Please listen to them when they're telling you that you're saying something misogynistic, or that is that's giving misogynoir energy, especially because you are a Black man, and you, from what I have gathered about you in the short time that I have observed you on this platform, you seek to not harm Black women. You seek to make sure that you're uplifting Black women, that you're building partnerships amongst Black people and Black women. If that is your aim, if that is your goal, sir, I implore you to listen to the very demographic that you say that you want to uplift and that you want to partner with, and that you value. Because these women are not trying to harm you when they're telling you that they are being harmed by what you are saying. They're trying to express to you that you're doing it unintentionally, but it's still happening. And the impact matters. The impact matters more than the intent. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going on mute.
All right, so I want to respond to you just quick. I was in social work for 12 years. I know how to listen to people, and I know what to say to get people riled up. Then I know what to say to get people to think on something. I hear, so let me say this. 90% of my following are Black people. Well, 98% of my following is not Black people, but 80 to 90% are Black women. So for me, I'm gonna put it this way. Think of Carlisha Hood that happened earlier this year, the Brick Lady situation that happened in September, and Kiki Palmer. When some people have these topics on a green screen, everybody makes the assumption that somebody is against the person who's on the green screen. Me, and I have people in there used to be like, who actually help me moderate these conversations the way I do. Some of these people went out their way to take a screenshot because I have, let's say, a brick lady on my green screen and say, I'm degrading Black women. I'm doing all XYZ. Anytime a Black man has an opinion and speaks on certain things, it's automatically you're a misogynist and you hate women. Yet, some of these people have never spoken to me before. They've never came into my platform. They just sat in the FYP and made an assumption. On this app, I've been on this app for almost a year now. Again, if you come to my platform and actually talk to me, you would understand my methods in terms of how I talk and what I'm saying. It's just to question things and get people to think. Most of these people don't want it to be a situation where I'm speaking up for, let me say, women on a positive end. Because I've been on this app for a minute now. I understand what I say and how I say it, but I do it on purpose. But it's not malicious. Some of these people don't even want to hear me talk, because the minute I bring up a black woman, you hate women. You hate black women. But again, if it's Brick Lady, for example, and I'm a land, she's a scammer. Her situation, she dealt with allegedly a man abusing her with a weapon. Let's talk about how men respond when they get rejected. Let's talk about how some women are so programmed to be an offense to men, that certain things can escalate or happen. And in those situations, for example, you never know how it'll end up. Let's talk about the Carlisha in Carlisha Hood, right? Earlier this year in Chicago. That man had a mental illness. He had a history of whatever his history or track record was to abuse women. But in that city, gang culture exists and all this other stuff. Like, there's a lot of elements into what I speak on what I bring up with my topics, but nobody wants to actually have a conversation. You see me put up a black woman, automatically I hate black women. That's how some of these people response is. But again, I have somebody or one or two people in here that actually were on my panel to actually be a woman so that she can control my panel for me while we're having these conversations. Let me say Brick Lady. There's somebody in here right now. So perception is an illusion. But some of these women on this app don't deserve for me to listen to them, because what they do is exist in this cult, like in a cult, to where they just hate black men and they do all these other things. And listen, I didn't mean to bring that up in here, but
That's what
they
I'm
do this
saying.
on purpose.
But
Yeah, they do this on
also,
purpose. And if you follow their platforms, if you follow their content, everything is middle finger to black men. I hate black men. Black men are the worst. All these myths
it's gonna
about
show
like
you that.
it's a bunch of nonsense. But that's what I've been on the receiving end of. And like you said, sister, just listen to me talk. When I'm having conversation with black women, do you believe that I'm a misogynist? It's not an actual question. It's
No, I don't.
rhetorical.
Yeah.
But you know what that is, man. Some of these women do this on purpose, and I land.
All right. Well, look. See, this is the thing. All right. You gotta use a little. When we talk about this, right? If we don't want this to become problematic, we gotta use nuance in how you speak, right? Don't want to keep saying these women, like, especially, that's like, you don't want to say these people certain things. That's the first thing I'm gonna say, because women that's listening gonna get triggered by that. Keep saying these women that, these women this. Then also, I think, that whole brick situation, to be honest, it was quite a confusing time being on TikTok. I would say that you can either be one of the people that felt bad for the sister and you wanted to get some money out to her, help her through a situation. And if you didn't feel like she was being for real or whatever, a lot of people, I feel like they should have just left that shit alone, to be honest. Like, what's the point? Like, even if you feel like, not you, but even if someone felt like that situation wasn't real, what's the point of you trying to disprove it? Like, what good is that going to do anybody? Like, what, that don't help nothing. I mean, if she's scamming people, then hopefully the law will catch up with her And if not, then, you know, us making content saying that she's scamming people ain't gonna help nothing. And then, you know, women gonna have other women's back, unfortunately, more than the men will in a lot of situations. So I think when it came to Carlisha, though, I'll be honest, I was seeing a lot of men taking her side until it came out that she was capping, and then everything kind of just quieted down. Like everybody just kind of like ran away from that situation. I think I see on my feed all the time a lot of lives, mostly held by sisters that participate in this gender war thing, and they do talk disparagingly about brothers. I see it all the time. A lot of it comes from a place of pain. The same way I come up here and on my wife's phone, it's a completely different story. So don't get swept away into the algorithm. My wife's phone, I'll pick it up right now, I swear. It will say, black men this, black men ain't that. I just seen something today. Black men prefer Asian women, talking all type of crazy. You know, since when did a brother ever say he prefer Asian women? Like I can only think of Dave Chappelle that would say some shit like that. He a comedian. So, you know, the algorithm shows you what'll get a reaction out of you. So I see it on my phone too, and I've shared it with my wife, and she literally told me if I wasn't with you, I wouldn't even know this. Like I scroll up and down my timeline. You've said it before. She right here. When I scroll down my timeline and you see it say, black women don't need black men, and like black men are all evil and should be aborted. Like it be saying crazy stuff. Like the algorithm is just gonna feed you what it thinks is gonna make you react. If they talking about black men and the algorithm knows you're a black man, it's gonna show you them talking about black men in ways that's gonna make you react. And so, but we know that this is not most sisters, and that the sisters that you're interacting with might have been through some sort of trauma where they associated their abuser with their own race and black men in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I always use the analogy when I was young, I was in New York City and I seen a black woman, she was homeless, take a number 2 on the sidewalk. Should I say I'm traumatized by that experience and look at all black women and say, y'all gonna take number 2s on the sidewalk? No, because that don't make no sense. But sometimes people associate, and it's part of anti-blackness, people associate their, you know, trauma from one person and they project it onto a certain demographic, whoever the demographic or the identity of their attacker was. So, you know, that's the thing. A lot of people on here, you gotta understand, some of them on medications. You a social worker, so everybody up here not completely stable. You know what I'm saying? I noticed that. I already noticed that. Like sometimes I'll be in these lives and I'll be like, oh nah, I know you need pills. I know you need pills. You woke up this morning, and I'm not talking about sisters. I'm actually talking about a dude. I'm just like, bruh, you sound too tight about these women right now. You are too pressed. Like, you need to relax. You shouldn't be up here. I know you need your, you know, your what they be taking? You know what I'm saying? The mood stabilizers.
Mood stabilizers.
Yeah.
All types of stuff. And they need
Yeah.
therapy. Look, y'all don't need
Right.
just pills. Y'all asses need therapy. Y'all need
Therapy, right.
counseling. Y'all
Mm-hmm.
like for real. And it's not a one-sided thing. It's men, it's women. A whole lot of people need fucking therapy and pills.
Yeah. So, you know, taking that into consideration when you're interacting with people on this app, there's no drug test, there's no psyche eval to come up and do a live. So when I see all this type of stuff, sometimes I know they're talking out of pain. I see biracial people talking out of their pain. I see people making lies about black people can be racist and they black themselves. And I know that's coming out of pain. And so I see all this stuff and I know it's fun to interact with because these are hot topics and they're taking they're taking a route that's not usually taken, something you're not going to see really on TV because it's harmful. These are harmful rhetorics. So, it might be kind of fun to get in there and try to correct them or something. But anyway, I would say
Let me
don't
just say something real
internalize.
quick before
Yeah.
once you're done.
No, I mean, basically, that's all I'm saying is, like you said, TikTok is not a real place. And I'll also avoid now you picking up that same trauma of them generalizing and projecting the identity or associating the identity of their attacker, the demographic of their attacker with the trauma that has been dealt to them. And now you, traumatized by the lies, associate that and project that onto sisters. And so I don't feel like you're doing that, but I'm just saying when you say these women in such broad terms, people are going to assume that's what you're saying. It's very nuanced conversation, bro. Like I've had to, when you watch Bell Hooks speak and you see the nuance in which she talks, or Audre Lorde, oh my goodness, Audre Lorde, like when you see how they talk, that's what kind of helped me with communication with my wife too. It's like you gotta be precise with your words.
Right. And I'm gonna just say this. I did a lot of what I did on this app on purpose. It was for me to attack this fake ass online gender war and do it my way. And that led into some of the responses I've gotten over the months. But I understand people's trauma. Again, if you come to my platform and hear me talk, there is how do I say this? A trajectory or a start to finish as to how I outline my conversation. I address certain things in the beginning. By the time people are on the panel, they're answering certain questions, and I end it off with how I ended off, which is take care of yourself, go to therapy, drink water, stay vigilant. That's literally how I do this. It's start to finish. But some people don't, they stay in the beginning when they see a Carlisha Hood on the green screen. They don't hear me talk about therapy. They don't hear me talk about the trauma and all this stuff. They just hear the beginning. And for me, me picking my battles, for me to pick my battles, I've left that alone. Like I've left this gender war situation alone because let me say we've been on this app for 4 years. These kind of conversations, this kind of energy from some woman to black men has been on this app for a long time. And it's not going to change, I don't think. I don't know if it's going to change, but at the end of the day, being purposeful and intentional as to what spaces you in is going to be it's going, I guess,
I'll say another thing
produce
too, that
results. Being mindful of what spaces you in. Like me, I don't even host lives no more like that because I'm tired of the gender war bullshit BS. But also I'm tired of hearing men tell women how they're supposed to be act or be, and then women same difference, or this relationship conversation, all this nonsense that been on this app for years. Like I'm tired of this. It's echo chambers now. It's the same. Well, it's been like that for a while, but for me, I've left this shit alone completely. I don't even do lives no more
another
because
thing.
I'm gonna keep getting that energy from certain people because they just want to create chaos and destruction. And to what you said, a lot of it, yeah, it's trauma. And they're on this
That's
app
all it
just to
is.
mess with people because they can. They
Definitely.
have access to the internet. So
It
why
hurt.
not let me go to this content creator or go to this page and make sure I put a bug in their ear to tell them how much I hate them or how much they bother me because
But
they
at the
just want a
same time,
reaction. Yeah.
at the same
And I
time,
land. Yeah, I
the
left a
more
lot
you,
of that shit alone. A lot of people know me on this app. I don't even do most of this anymore. I'm tired of y'all. I'm tired of people. Excuse me.
the more you unpack patriarchy, the more you start to understand why they're so hurt, and then that's what makes me just kind of leave them alone. Like I understand why, and I like at one point I would say I was less aware of the problem, and because I was less aware, I was part of the problem. You know what I'm saying? I'll still say it's hard. Like I'm still trying to take some accountability in the current because I'm not the Buddha or I'm not. I don't know who's like a godlike centered spiritual man. I make mistakes. Sometimes when I get into an argument, I have to be very mindful of letting my wife finish what she's saying. So I still make mistakes, but I would say I'm way more aware. And at one point, I was part of the problem. So I can't be mad at somebody that's been hurt by someone like my younger self. You know what I'm saying? Oh, go ahead, D. You want to talk?
Thank you. Go
Go
Still,
ahead.
ahead.
phone was locked. I had to drop and come back. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna be done with y'all. Holy Spirit, activate. All right, so yeah, y'all be monologuing. I don't got time for that.
I was doing that because I was trying to
Me
address
too.
him. I didn't want to. I wanted y'all to talk, but I wanted to talk to the man about the women instead of having y'all do the work. Like when white folks come up here and handle their own white work. That's all I was trying to do. But go
Okay,
ahead.
so
Nah,
Holy
but yeah,
Spirit,
hold on, sister.
yeah.
My legend, I ain't even mean to get into all this on your platform. You know, I
It's
stay
cool.
silent
It's cool.
majority, but I just had to
Yeah.
address that. Go
But
ahead,
let it
So
D.
be
let me
stick. Go
gather
I
ahead.
you,
shouldn't even
brother.
let that happen on here.
I'm gonna have to gather speak real quick because I went into speak live and he wouldn't let me up because I want to read him for filth. And I want to make sure somebody's in a lion. And I ain't lying. Let me stop. But I ain't lying. He wouldn't let me up. He really didn't. He was just talking. He was just like hearing himself talk. But anyway, Holy Spirit, activate, activate, activate. Holy Spirit, activate. Hello, hello, and welcome. You guys, you are in Brother Legends Live. Again, you are in Brother Legends Live. I need you to tap that screen. Tap, tap, tap. Tap that screen. If you know what I mean, get busy with those fingers and tap that screen. Go ahead and share the live. Invite your friends, your frenemies, and we'll even accept your gosh darn enemies. But first and foremost, subscribe to Brother Legends Live. Don't forget about the YouTube, you guys. Tap, tap, tap. Tune in, tap, and don't save nothing for the last. If we get some poons up here, can we get some damn paws? Stop playing with me, y'all. But I tried to reset, refresh, and regather
Oh yeah,
these
let me change the
brothers.
picture back.
So get it together, because we going to move on away from all this monologuing. I don't need to hear a diction or a story. I just need to hear the topics. You guys, tap that screen. We're going to 300K, so stop acting like you're stiff and get to tapping. You know the YTs on this app. Do it for the brother. And give the damn host.
Appreciate you. Yeah, y'all. We're gonna get back to the live. I do want to host more healing spaces for that type of talk. Healing spaces. I don't know how to do it without it becoming problematic. So hopefully God will, or the ancestors will guide me in the right direction with that. I don't want to do the spaces particularly for women, but I think it'll be good for women to hear the conversation. I want to talk mostly to brothers and how we need to redefine our masculinity, go back to our original form, because we're only following patriarchy as it was given to us by our slave masters. Sister Southern, did you want to say something? Southern Fried.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't come off of mute. My bad. I said yes. I think that would be beautiful and super helpful. So I look forward to listening in on those lives when you had them. I thought Dee was gonna chime in a little bit on what y'all were talking about. I was gonna chime in a little bit more, but honestly, I don't want Speak to think that I'm coming for him because I'm not. But ultimately, the way I can now understand why women were perceiving his communication, his lives, whatever, the way they were receiving it.
Mm-hmm.
He described certain things. So I'm not gonna do anything now but reiterate what I said before, which is listen. Listen to the people who are telling you that they are being harmed, brother. Because I don't care if you have a degree in social work or not. I don't have a degree in social work, but I have studied psychology. I have multiple degrees. I worked in healthcare for over what 16, 17 years now. I understand the field very well. So what I'm going to say is listen to the people who are telling you that they are being harmed, sir, because it doesn't matter if you have an education in a specific area, a degree on a wall that you to demonstrate proficiency in certain target areas does not mean that you have ongoing proficiency in applying those tactics and applying those skills that you were supposedly taught across demographics. It just it doesn't mean that. And we know that by the way that we deal with Wahite people every day. Uh, so we know people can have all types of degrees and still not utilize those skills when it comes to people that they already have preconceived notions about. And I'm not accusing you of anything when I say that. I am encouraging you to reflect upon the way that you navigate relationships and rethink about that shit so that you might have a more productive dialogue with people, especially women, moving forward. That's all I'm gonna say about that, brother. That's all
Brother
I'm gonna say.
Legend, I got an idea. Where you at? Brother, come
Yeah.
back. Okay, I got an idea. You know what we can do? Because y'all know I love the unicorn and I love the lion so much. Is when they don't tap this damn screen, and I mean power tap, let's go to sub only. And the only way you can come off sub only is if you send a lion.
Damn. That's crazy. That's
Yo, let me
crazy.
say this real quick, because I don't want to do this back and forth. But, ma'am, when men are assumed to be a certain way on this app, they are not allowed to respond to being lied on, being manipulated, and some of these women that I'm referring to,
Stop saying
they'll
these
play
women.
victim. Hold on, brother. They'll play victim to certain situations. They'll speak by way of claiming being a victim, but in the same breath, they'll host a panel and say men or black men are buck broken, black men are little boys, black men are irresponsible, they're not fathers, they're not all these negative things, which are the myths that was created against black men. And these same women claim they want to have a conversation or want men, black men specifically, to be better. So how is it that me as a black man, I sit in silence, allow that to happen, and they bring that same energy to me directly as if I do all these negative things in the real world off this app. Yet they've been on this app for, let me say, 4 years,
I don't think
spewing this hateful rhetoric, this misandrous rhetoric and energy against black men intentionally.
Sir, with respect.
I, chose to tackle that
With
because it's
respect.
not fair for black men to hear this nonsense from some of these women, because you are bringing in your anecdotal experience. Y'all are trauma bonding. They are doing all these things, but they don't care for a man to come in to have a conversation with them.
But
It's just
you know
all
what?
these men are buck
With
broken.
respect, you're
All these
making
men,
the
hold on,
same
do DV, essay, and all
generalizations.
this ridiculousness.
You're
That is
saying
not a fair stance to take when you're on a public platform and there's eyes and ears on you,
This
because that cult will grow.
this
all
And
is
then
right.
they
why.
come for
I'm not
direct
even
people
gonna
directly.
I'm
And
not gonna
I've been on the
continue.
receiving end of that, but I'm not, and I stopped internalizing things. So I just want to say that, and I'm not going to say nothing else because it's not right.
I'm gonna say
In
this
the
real quick.
real world, you have no idea, or most of these people don't know who I am in the real world. If you
This
hear
is
how I talk, you can get a sense of what's going on this side. But a
okay.
lot of this is a delusional
Mm.
consciousness that they've taken on this app, which is ridiculous because it only exists on this app, and some of them do this on purpose, day by day.
This is
They do
why
this on
men should be.
purpose,
But
and it's crazy.
speak.
I
God
land.
damn it, speak. Shit. Now you're monologuing. This is why men should be addressing men and women should be addressing women. Because there is a lack of listening. There is a lack of hearing in this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think a man should be coming up here and correcting women and trying to address this cluster or group of women that have an issue with black men. And I don't think black women should be addressing black men and telling them how they should perceive something. Because in reality, at the end of the day, y'all are not hearing each other. You're just kind of walking past each other and saying your issues, and then it creates a problem. Like, it's obvious in the midst of this conversation that there's something that's a disconnect. But I feel like if you're gonna have a real conversation, it has to be listening. One side's not always gonna be right. And the bigger issue in this is we have huge problem as a people. We have a lot of issues as a community, but it's even worse when one person thinks that their vision or their way is the only way. I don't. What'd you say, brother?
That's literally what I was about to say. That's what I want to make the live about, and that's what I was saying earlier, is I want to make the live about black men talking amongst ourselves, and I think it's going to benefit the sisters to hear more about what Speak is talking about, because we do have that issue as well. I seen somebody say it. I cannot recall who said it. It was one of the scholars. I don't remember who. They said we have to admit at some point that our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, our enslaved mothers and aunties put a little bit of misandry into the culture, which they had to.
A lot.
Because it was a response to men being taken from them. They had to, as a defense mechanism, they had to, kind of protect themselves from men, especially in these harsh environments. So you can imagine how harsh an environment the plantation was. And so it's like, it is a thing, but not saying that it's a thing that's anywhere near as powerful. And I'm not even going to say this. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is there's a black male experience. That's what I was saying about that study where black men are seen as the most threatening, even within our own community, And sometimes I think black men don't have a platform where they can speak about what it feels like to be seen as a threat by your own community and your own women. That's the problem with patriarchy. That's a patriarchy problem because we don't have patriarchy. We have white patriarchy. White patriarchy has told us that black men are a threat. Black women do not want to be. They're subjugated to patriarchy at the job, in the courtroom, everywhere they go in life. Then when they come home, they don't want to be dealing with no patriarchy. And that's what they speak up about. And then the brothers, we have to deal with being a threat everywhere we go. We also don't want to be considered a threat at home. And that's what I think Speak is speaking to when he's saying, he doesn't like that he's being perceived as a threat. Although I can say on certain parts of what we're talking about, there's room for him to grow. I think we have to have this conversation with just men.
Right. Okay. I agree with that. And that was what I was saying when I said I understand why he was being perceived the way that he was being perceived, period. But I'll leave that to you to converse with him about further, because that's not going to really go anywhere, evidently, from conversing with myself and other women on this panel. So I'll leave that to you. That makes a lot more sense. And I look forward to listening to those lives, because I think it will be an interesting listen, and I'm down for it. So I look forward to channeling into that.
So one thing I did just kind of want to add is that the Black experience is a very unique experience, which also means that a lot of the psychological trauma and damage that has come from the atrocities that have been committed against us is very much so also unique and very specific. So knowing that means that both Black men and Black women from each other deserve an unimaginable amount of empathy for each other in order to be able to engage in these conversations and to understand that with knowing that this trauma exists and with knowing that we have had to implement a vast amount of defense mechanisms within ourselves, internally, psychologically, and physically, externally, that in and of itself is a clear sign that we need to do internal work with making sure that that empathy is placed back within our dynamics and our interactions with each other. Because a large portion of the slave trade was convincing us that we didn't need to be with each other. They would do that by selling family members away from each other. They would do that by inflicting physical punishment on our brothers and sisters, kings and queens, our ancestors. Like, there is a certain level of understanding that we have to have, that as black men, that a black woman may approach you in an aggressive way, or a black man may approach a black woman in an aggressive way, but that's only because they haven't done the work to emphasize or to make a priority within their lives that empathy for each other, because of the circumstances that we've been forced to go through. So a lot of times we get too caught up in the, oh, he said and she said, and a lot of these podcasts start popping up where, you know, all of a sudden you see a whole bunch of random relationship experts that are specifically catered towards the black community. But still, at the end of the day, in a large portion of those, you don't really see that empathy being expressed. And if we're going to progress back to the way in which our ancestors used to treat each other before they were forced to see inhumanity in each other, which never existed, then in order to be able to go back to how our ancestors used to view each other, we need to really dive deeper into understanding historically where that comes from, understanding and having that empathy for each other, and just really focusing in on listening to each other's concerns and actually having those dialogues, like how you were talking about setting up Brother Legend. So it's, yeah, like it's, yeah.
I think real quick, it's got to be elbow to elbow, right? At some point, I need to look at Brother Legend in his eyes. I need to look at Speak in his eyes. That's what I need to do. I need to sit across a table with a glass of water and talk to you and see you and have that kind of communication, because that's the kind of community I need to build with my brothers and sisters. Period. I'm doing a lot of really good things in Baltimore with a group of black women, and it's going to be a beautiful thing when we're done. And that's what it comes down to, man. We have put ourselves in. We're deceiving ourselves. That's what we're doing. We need to sit down with each other, whether it's in Houston, Atlanta, Baltimore, I don't care where it is. I need to see my brothers and sisters face to face. That's what I need. And at some point, I hope it happens, you know, because I know that's what they did in my day, and it worked. If something works, why not try it? You know what I mean? All this data, all this technology, I mean, it's great and everything, but I love you guys. You think I'm kidding when I say that, but I love you guys. Okay? And you know that, dude. You know me. I'm not going to sit here. I got 25 years left on this planet, dude. I want to see all of you do great things. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, you ready?
What?
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
We got to get back to it. You got people in. You got people in the lineup.
No, nobody trying to come up here today.
I stand with black men. That's
Oh, I heard that. Okay, you standing with us?
That's what she said. She's standing with black men.
I stand with black men. Only one. I heard that, Latasha. Shout out to Latasha, man. I'm about to follow Latasha. I heard that. Absolutely.
Really, Leisha? Really, Leisha? Leisha being petty. She on some Cynthia G shit today.
I love it. I love it. I've been watching her. Alicia been fun.
Alicia is petty.
Her brand of petty. I'm here for it.
Listen, at the end of the day, when it comes to Black people, we have so many hurdles that I just think that the brother, you know what, you said this a few times, so I'm trying to think of a way I want to word it. Okay, I'm gonna say it my way. Of all the things that you don't get to choose that affect Black people every day, one thing that you do get to choose is the people that you align yourself with and the people you choose to create a foundation with. So I find it very interesting that the same people that I get to choose to be around, I get to choose to procreate with and to actually build community with is the same people that I want to go to war against. That ain't something I could ever want to do with Black people in general. So you won't find me sitting on here dragging no Black man. You ain't gonna find me on here dragging no Black woman. They gotta be some real poons. And also, I drugged the hell out of him. I ain't gonna lie. I drugged him a few times. I enjoyed it. But
My Osa?
girl, I called him a dog face bitch.
I can't stand him. Oh, I'm glad you drug his ass
You
for
missed
filth.
it. I
I
cussed
done
him
drug
out
him a few
royally.
times up and through the streets, girl. Get his ass every time you see him, because every time I see him, I'm gonna snatch his ass. But go ahead. My
I'm
bad.
just saying, like, if there's a miscommunication, there's a shortage. So I think like Brother Legend is a good platform where I think if women are having an issue with brothers on the app, I think it'll be a good person to reach out and have a conversation with some of the brothers. And I think y'all should find women that, or vice versa. If you have an issue with a woman on the app, find a woman that you feel like communicates well, and y'all can have that conversation. But I think us going back and forth and trying to measure wits is insulting, because I think a lot of y'all, especially people that come on Brother Legends panel, are really intelligent people. So it's not a pissing match over here. Yeah, we all the same. Shit, I love my Black people, cause y'all bathe every day. Y'all always fresh. I love that for us.
That's why I make topics like this, where it's us talking about things that happen to us both. Like I try to stay from I'm a whole Black woman accountable. What don't y'all like about Black women? What's wrong with Black men? Like I try not to do that, because then now it's us attacking us. That's that Willie Lynch type shit. And Leisha, I hope you're kidding about Cynthia G. We're not doing that. Cynthia G is a whole menace. She better be playing. I'm gonna need a new mod. I don't know what possessed her.
Yeah, they think this shit is funny. That shit is dead wrong, but I'm gonna stay muted. That shit is not funny at
I'm
all.
still
Okay.
here because you said they bathe every day, and I'm like, yeah, because our legs is clean, my bruh, my sis. Because our legs is clean. That's why. Because we use more than one washcloth. Hell, because we use washcloths at all, damn it.
It's funny because there's actually research papers that prove that, yeah, people of European ancestry are actually the least likely racial group to bathe. So that's, yeah. So I'm right there with
Okay,
you.
so
Don't be that hairy either.
was you speaking to me saying that about the bathing, or just speaking to what I was making the joke of being light about?
Oh, no, because you was like talking about bathing. You're like, yeah, because we bathe every day. And I was like, yeah.
No.
sis.
Speaks. You didn't hear him? He said that we was being funny, but it wasn't funny.
Oh, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear that. So I missed something.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, doing what she want to do.
So speak. What was you talking about? It take a lot to offend me, so I'm not a thin-skinned person. Like, if I said something that you took a certain particular way, let me know, yeah, because I don't mind. But if I meant it, I'll say it again. I ain't gonna hold you.
Start that crying voice.
I'm usually just gonna say I said what the fuck I said, but occasionally I'll be like, oh my bad, I didn't mean it like that.
Speak.
Y'all need to share live with somebody. Get somebody up
Better
here.
than most of the people on this panel, you know.
Because I knew Lee was playing.
No, I figured she was playing because she done improved herself time and time again. If I would have caught a vibe by now. Alicia's on point. But nah, cause Cynthia G is wild. But I'm also, I don't know how y'all feel about what's that girl? Brittany Renner. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That's a nightmare. Like, I had a dream one time. She was my daughter, and I was like some old man. Can you imagine I was your daughter?
No.
That's a nightmare. That's my worst case scenario. Oh my God, her and what's that rapper girl? Benzino's daughter. Oh my God, if that was my daughter, oh my God,
You know
I
what?
would have failed. That means I
That's a
failed.
good conversation, brother. That's a good conversation. It's not a failure. It's
Yes,
it's
it is.
it's a disconnect with the generations, and we're seeing it across the board. But I find it very interesting that even the worst things that have happened to me from my parents, I don't feel the need to go somewhere where people don't like my parents and to drag my parents for that person to make to like capitalize on not only the pain but a way to drag my parents. Does that make sense? Like that's kind of what she did. Corleroy, like she knew she was on a platform that didn't like her dad, and she unleashed in a way that kind of allowed them to drag her dad.
Damn, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, it's a red flag. If my child wants to be anything like do anything in entertainment, I'm gonna feel like I failed. But especially if they out here like Coyle Ray, that's gonna be an issue for me. If they out here talking about Brittany Renner, talking about she gonna be smashing 18-year-old basketball players to have a kid, that's crazy. That's just wild, man. We ain't doing that. But I'm raising my kids in Africa. I don't know about y'all.
That's weird as hell. Yeah, the Brittany Renner shit is weird as fuck.
Yeah, I'm raising my kids in Africa. They ain't gonna know nothing about this Babylon over here. It's
Yep. Straight to Ghana. Already been thinking about that.
Yo, word! Raising my kids in Africa.
I'm dead ass like coming up with a plan to relocate. I'm not even joking.
Africa, because we sitting here talking about how they suspending kids because they got locks. We talking about how they not teaching history, all this other stuff. I'm homeschooling in Africa. After I buy a house for 1/10 the cost of what it would cost here in the United States, and I'm on land that that I don't like, if I don't pay my taxes, they're not going to take my house, right? So I'm in Africa now. I own this, okay? This is my land. And now we have a garden. I'm good. I don't really need to leave my home, and I can work with the people here in Africa, have my child raised around people that look like them. You know what I'm saying? Like, have them out of Babylon. My child's not gonna be listening to Sexy Red. No, nothing against that sister. I know that she is just a puppet.
Booty hole brown, brother. Booty hole brown.
I mean, let's not lie to ourselves, okay? It's okay to not approve of certain shit that Black people do. I don't like the fact that anytime a Black person does something, we have to pretend like it's anti-Black to say, nah, that shit was fucked up. It's not anti-Black to say something that a Black person did was fucked up.
Yeah. Right. I want my children to have a healthy understanding of sex. You know what I'm saying? When they're ready, and I'm gonna teach it to them, because that's the thing. Y'all letting white folks teach your children about sex. Keep it real. Y'all letting white folks teach your daughters about their periods.
No, but can we circle back to that, brother? Because you got real silent and Diva got real silent. And I want somebody to look, if I'm saying something that seems out of pocket, please tell me and tell me why you think it's out of pocket. But no, I don't think calling out behavior that is harmful to our community is anti-Blackness. That's not anti-Blackness.
No.
And a lot of times people in our community will tell you that. They will, that's anti-Black, blah, blah, blah. No, the fuck is not.
Shame is gone. That's the problem. No one wants to be shamed or shunned from things that you know are embarrassing. When Monique made that statement about wearing a bonnet in public and on an airplane, I agreed. I have never worked outside my house with a bonnet on. But is that for me to just tell everybody? No. Am I finna sit here and argue with Black people about how you present yourself? No.
Right.
Because at this point in 2023, people just if you say anything that they feel like doesn't go with the collective, it's just ignorant. I'm my own person. The way I was raised, you don't come downstairs in your night clothes. Like that
Okay.
was how I was raised. You don't go outside with your hair all over your head. You don't go outside with no bonnet on.
I
My
was told
brother
that.
couldn't go outside with no do-rag on his head because those were night clothes.
I
That's
was told
an
that too.
in-house thing. So, like, for me, the way that I see it is, I'm not going to be trying to correct and check everybody, because one thing about it is, in our community, pride is gone. The self-pride to show up and look respectable now is demonized. To have some level of self-worth and how you present yourself is demonized. And then when you try to have some level of standards for your kids or for yourself, it's demonized. We can popularize bullshit, drama, accept it, the goofiness. Y'all will prioritize that this woman is you will prioritize this woman being pregnant and busting the splits as if that's something to be proud of more than you do the way that our young women and young men will graduate from college. Or how they're focused on elevating their communities.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't.
No, we agree with you, because I said shame is gone.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I wasn't tripping, because I'm like, that shit got real silent.
Oh no! Anytime it gets silent on my end, it's because I'm 100% in agreement.
When black people used to travel, when black people used to travel, they'd get dressed up like they were going to church.
Yeah.
You know, when we, I mean, that's the way it was,
And I don't think that we should have to tap dance for approval, and I don't think that we should have to glamorize ourselves for approval of white people, especially. But I do think that we should be able to critique our own community, again, in love, without being called anti-black. I think that's fucking ridiculous.
Technology had a lot to do with that, didn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's totally, it's diverted the truth from a lot of from the last two generations.
And I've noticed the only time that it occurs is when we're talking about a behavior that is that most communities would consider undesirable, right? But because this is something that is promoted in Western culture and stereotyped as the standard of blackness, it suddenly gets it gets a boost, right, in the algorithms and stuff, if you're talking about it, and you're talking about it in a way that says, I don't approve of this message. Then all of a sudden you're anti-black, and that is a problem, because to me, what that is saying is, we're fine with promoting criminality. We're fine with promoting the over sexualization of black people, black women especially. We're fine with pushing that certain narrative. But the moment that anybody has anything averse to say to that, now we have a problem.
Yeah.
Now you see what I'm saying? Like, now all of a sudden, you're anti-black. It's hella weird to me, because it's it's simply reinforcing what white stereotypes are about black people, but it's doing it in a different way, right? It's basically making us reinforce that upon ourselves, making
Yeah.
us
Right.
fight ourselves to say, no, this is fine, and shut up, she can do whatever she wants, and blase blase, right? Or he, let's be clear,
Or talk about it.
he can do whatever he wants, blah blah blase blase. But whatever negative kind of stereotypes that a certain black person might be perpetuating in the media, suddenly we're supposed to accept that, not say anything about it, or else we're being anti-black,
You know what
right?
it
And there,
is? You know
go
what it
ahead.
is? I mean, look, I hear people say things as black people, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you saying, man? And why are you saying that about black people? And these are black people talking about black people, right? And I'm just like, why are you saying that about? And you know it's wrong, and I'm not going to get into what they're saying, but I know what they're saying is not right, okay? One voice can completely bring down an entire community by saying the wrong thing, or doing the wrong thing, or asking the wrong thing. You know,
It can completely bring down or put a damper on a marginalized community. Yes.
That's exactly what I mean. You nailed it.
I think, in an anti-black society, the thought of black liberation and black people, being liberated enough to express themselves however they want is so unimaginable that only people that can imagine it are like people on the far left end of the political spectrum, like the very liberal, anything goes type of people. For example, when we wanted a black Spider-Man, they gave us a black Spider-Man, and in the same movie, a white woman Spider-Man, three-armed, four-armed Spider-Man, gay Spider-Man, all different types, everyone inclusive. And so it's like, because of that, we as a people sometimes align our morality and our ethics a little far, far left into accepting everything, because this society will only accept us being liberated if they can accept everything else. They're like, it's just, we're gonna let Barack Obama be president? Okay, bet. Donald Trump too, then whatever. We don't care. Like, we can, like, now it's like the open the floodgates because they want to be free. And so, our people, we have a addiction to, being far on the left and accepting everything, but it's like at the same time, it's okay to have what our ancestors had, which was balance. There's a side of us that should be a little bit more conservative. Not saying conservative in the American political white ideological spectrum. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about conservative meaning some being reserved in certain areas and being liberal in others. Like, liberal only in the eyes of, once again, Eurocentrists, like white people. Like, to them, it's liberal that a woman is equal to a man. Like, like, this is just balance.
Because humanity, the equality of humanity, not even, we shouldn't even have to negotiate gender as relates to.
Yeah.
That is wild as hell. So I just wanted to chime in and piggyback on what you were saying, because that's wild as hell. We shouldn't have to negotiate the humanity of a person based on their race or their gender. That's weird as fuck.
Yeah.
But that is a white supremacist infrastructure that has been imposed upon all of us. I don't give a damn where you're at. It's been imposed upon all of us in society at this point over hundreds of years. That is weird as hell, and we have to unlearn that shit.
Well, they've always needed the white Eurocentric America, white Eurocentric people globally have always needed a boogeyman. And that boogeyman has always been black men and women. We are the people they take from, culturally, socially, spiritually, and it hasn't stopped for, centuries, 500 years, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's where we are, right? I mean, we know all this. This isn't new.
Yeah.
I
hear you.
I was in a live earlier today where I had to set these white Eurocentric men straight. I just ripped them a new ass, dude. I didn't give a fuck. I didn't care. They're like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, this is an anti-black. And they're like, well, I'm like, there is no well, This is what this is. And we didn't start this. You did. Okay? And I just, I went in on these people. And that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. If you live in this country, if you live in a white Eurocentric nation like America or Canada or Great Britain or Israel or wherever, that you have to tell these people what the deal is. Because you can't come back from it if you don't. And you have to correct your brothers and sisters when they're just doing stupid shit. Because people do stupid shit.
Like
I
I
think
said,
a lot of times we
correct
get
one
in
another.
trouble with. Oh, I'm sorry, Queen. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Timothy.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that I think that where we get into trouble is when we are allowing outside individuals to witness when we are critiquing each other. Because in those instances, when we allow them to see us critiquing each other, they then use that as ammunition to attempt to further divide us.
Right. That's why I do my lives the way I do them. That's exactly why. I don't want us in here critiquing each other. That's facts, bro.
Yep.
That's facts.
I absolutely 100% agree. And this is why it's weird as hell when people have lives, especially Black people, and they center Wahite people in their lives and allow them to take a foothold, and or they enter into Wahite spaces and have Black conversations in those spaces.
Oh, man.
That is, I've seen it over and over again. It's hella problematic. I don't know why we continue to do that. We should not be commingling these conversations. In fact, this app is probably not the best place for them, although I understand why they are hosted on this app. It's not the best forum for them because anybody can observe them. And frankly, a lot of people who are bad actors are observing our conversations in order to take notes about how we move so they can launch their next attack. They go and create digital blackface accounts. They come back and they use rhetoric that they know is going to trigger Black people in Black spaces based on the information they've gathered from listening to our lives.
Yeah.
So that is hella problematic. I 100% agree with you on that. And they do that oftentimes. And I know because I've called them out. I sometimes sit in lives and I don't do nothing but sit in the comment section and I call out the trolls, the digital blackface accounts. I call their asses out. And usually after I call them out for being who they are, suddenly those accounts disappear from the live. And I could tell you multiple accounts just over the past 2 or 3 days I've done this with. And it's a huge problem. So again, like I said, I understand why we have those conversations, because we've built these platforms, and so we have a reach that we may not have in other forums that we, might exist in, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, whatever. We have a reach here that we may not have across other platforms. So it's more advantageous to have that dialogue here because you're going to have a better repository of people to pull from to have a conversation. But there's a drawback to it. And the drawback is the fact that anybody can view it and anybody can leverage that information. And they are leveraging that information.
Exactly. There is a platform that I've heard of called Our Black Truth. It's OBT. And it's a Black-owned platform, and they don't have the same type of ability to be able to like monitor, like in specific individuals don't have the ability to be able to monitor at length the conversations that we would have between each other, and all of that data is going towards a Black-owned organization. So it's not like, like they're gatekeeping that information. So it's not
called
like
Our Black Truth.
Yep, it's called Our Black Truth.
I never heard of it. Okay, thank you for sharing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Queen. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, y'all, I gotta go. I got work in the morning. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for joining me, everybody, and sticking around for the live. We had a lack of participation, but us having this conversation, I think, was really productive. So I'm gonna post this on the YouTube. Feel free to check me out, everybody, and I'll catch y'all next time. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell. After I go off the live, you're gonna see a little notification bell icon pop up. Hit that to know when I'm going live next. Big up yourself, Molly. Appreciate you. Diane Tucker, thank you. Lovely Rose Petals. Shout out to my melanated queens, kings. Shout out to Leisha. Thank you for hosting. Doing the moderation, and my co-host D. Appreciate you. Southern Fried, always a pleasure, man. I love your platform. Y'all go
You
check
too.
the sister out. And
Thanks for
Timothy,
having
man.
me.
Yeah, always. And Timothy, man, you was killing it tonight, man. Really appreciate you coming up, man.
I definitely appreciate the dialogue, King. I think you're doing amazing work, and I appreciate your queens for the amazing work that you're doing as well, like wholeheartedly.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Y'all know my saying. Jump in the tub before you jump in black people business.
Absolutely. Peace, Black Swan.